The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Aaron Rodgers says he wants to be back with the Jets next year. Will he be? Plus, what are the other options if Rodgers is not the quarterback? We'll start exploring that and much more when Ryan Sampson from the Gangs All Here podcast with the New York Post joins us on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
Man, our Jets are primed for a historic season.
Joe, I am not messing with you with what I'm about to say. Adam Schefter is reporting the Jets have just fired Robert Saleh.
Wow! We bleed Jets green each and every day. This is not the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. Let's go. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. The Jets bandwagon is loaded. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for spending part of your Thursday with us here on the channel. Click that like button if you haven't. We certainly need all the likes we can get, as many Jet fans aren't watching the show anymore. The diehards still are, though, so appreciate all the Asmaniacs out there who continue to support this channel day in, day out. Reminder to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Joining us right now is someone I'm a big fan of. He's been on the show before. He's the co-host of the Gangs All Here podcast with Brian Costello with the New York Post. Ryan Sampson is on the show once again. Hello, Ryan.
What's going on, Jake? Thank you for having me, man.
Well, you and I were catching up a little bit off air. Tough to cover a team when the expectations were as high as they were. And here we are 3-7. We're talking about who the GM is, who the coach is, the quarterback that we all thought was going to be the solution and be here for at least another year, maybe more. Now we don't even know if he should be back, if we want him back. It's been tough, man. It really has been.
Yeah, I mean, I got depressed when I heard your intro. You know, when you first start off, this is going to be an epic season for the Jets.
It's been epic.
It's been epic, yeah, in the wrong ways. Yeah, man, this has easily been the most disappointing season for us as fans to watch. How it's unfolded thus far, 3-7. Nothing has gone right. Nothing has gone right with this team, and it's always something. Whether it's the offense. Right now, it's the defense that didn't look great, even though the offense didn't score a touchdown. Special teams has always been an issue for this year. It's just, no matter what, like there's nothing you can look at this team right now and say is a redeemable quality unless you want to really, really pinpoint small things like a Will McDonald and how much he stepped up this year. But even when you think about guys that you were counting on this year, that's what's been upsetting and disappointing as well. Just Breece Hall is not having that year. Garrett Wilson has. Garrett Wilson's been great. But Sauce is having easily his worst year. And the fan stuff, like, I always think of that Herm Edwards clip, like, just don't hit send, don't press send. Like, just stay off social media, Sauce. Like, you're bigger than that. And I think he's learning that. I hope he's learning that because he is a really talented guy. And he seems like a good, genuine person, too. There's no reason to interact with fans. We're stupid. We're idiots. We're fanatics. Like, we're looking for, to generate a reaction out of a player like you. And that was a tough moment against that Trey McBride play. Like, we're going to remember that all year long, obviously, but that's just a small footnote in what's been an absolute embarrassing season for this football franchise.
Yeah. And I'll say this about Sauce. He owned it yesterday. I thought he was very good when speaking with the media, and Sauce is a good guy, man. He's been a stand-up dude since he's been with the Jets. So, like, you want to root for these guys. It's just so tough because, as we were saying at the top, the expectations were so high. And then, like, when you see him on social media, he's lashing out because he's frustrated because he cares. Like, that's how I look at it. By no means am I saying trade Sauce Gardner now and all that. Like, no, like it's just tough because, you try and find, things you could hold on to. And a lot of it was this young core. But to your point, Sauce has had a down year. Breece hasn't had the year we thought. Jermaine got hurt, which is not his fault. And really, other than Garrett, you talk about that historic draft class. He's the only one who has really like progressed further in year 3 taking that superstardom type of leap. And, Clemens is a waste. Jeremy Ruckert is probably a backup tight end as a former 3rd-round pick. That's okay, but I think we all had higher hopes for him. Max Mitchell is a depth guy. I mean, was he part of that draft? I don't even remember, but
he was part of Douglas's first class, right? Or was he second draft class? Yeah, he was a second draft class, 5th-round pick, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is like some of the things we were like hoping that would be a part of this future long term and be like catalysts to this team having success. It hasn't worked the way we thought.
No, and Jake, I think this is something I asked Kaz on the pod. I said, because I don't know how to think about this and where this team's going forward, but I think it's really important to see how they got to this point. And there's different avenues I think you could break this up into. Is it the players that just aren't developing and aren't as good as we thought they were, which means that the GM that built this team didn't put together a team that we actually thought was going to be as good as we hoped? Is it a lot more on the coaching and what they've had this influence on this team and how they've been able to play? And schematically, this team is just not put in the right position to be successful. Or ultimately, was this just a team that, we overrated and we just didn't see this coming? And yeah, I don't know how to blame most of this on. I mean, Kaz is blaming the players, but I don't know if you could blame this all on the players. I feel this has a lot of the coaching influence on here as well because of the culture that's been established. And that's where I'm going to keep harping on because I don't like the culture with this team. This is like one of the first Jets, not one of the first, but it's easily the worst, most hated team that I have for me, myself. Like, I don't like this team. Like, I don't like the way they play. I don't like the energy they have. I don't like the mojo and mood, like stuff I hear from the players. It's bad. And it's like it kind of is like a loser's mentality, if that makes sense. And I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way when I watch this team play every single Sunday because they look overmatched. They look like their schemes are just not as good as the other teams that they're playing. And, prime example is the Cardinals this past Sunday. The Jets looked like they had no idea that they were going to be able to pass the ball against them defensively. Like they were preparing so much for the run, but when the Cardinals decided to come out and start throwing the ball, the Jets secondary and even the preliminary linebackers in coverage, they had no idea where the hell they were going with the ball. Like it just, I don't know, man. Like there's something really off with this culture around this Jets team. And I don't know how you can't blame the coaches in what they've established here.
I completely agree. The Jets remind me of last year's LA Chargers team. Brandon Staley, not a good coach, obviously in over his head. They fire him. They replace him with arguably a worse roster, by the way, this year, but they replace him with Jim Harbaugh, a proven winner, and they're probably going to make the playoffs in his first year out there. Like, to me, let's use, for example, Mike Vrabel. You hire Mike Vrabel, and he's coaching this team this year. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl team, but I'll tell you what, Ryan, they're not 3-7. No. They're probably 6-4, even 7-3 with better coaching. So I think, some of the issues with this team is sure. Tyron Smith was a second-team All-Pro last year. Now he's shot. He's washed. I don't think any of us thought, his issues would be ability. We thought it'd be durability. And you couldn't plan for that. But the coaching on this team, I think is horrific. And it was bad with Saleh. Obviously, firing Saleh has proved to be the wrong move because it's gotten worse. But I really think
it should have happened in the offseason, right?
Correct. Or, I thought it was going to happen maybe if they lost the Bills game and they let Saleh coach Buffalo because he's beaten them the last 2 years. But the point is, it was never going to work long-term with Saleh. It was just going to delay how bad it was going to get is my thought. But I say all that to say, with better coaching, I really do think this team is not as bad as they are right now. They're losing the teams that they're favorites against because they're better than these teams from a talent perspective, but it doesn't matter because of the coaching mismatch that we see game in, game out.
No, I totally agree, man. I really do agree. It's when you watch the Jets play football, I always think in my head, I'm watching a different sport. I'm not watching the NFL right now. I'm watching a team that's getting in its own way because they just aren't on the same page and they're not doing the right things. Even it's the little things, executing like Sauce, being able to tackle on a key third down, setting up the screenplay on the first drive against James Conner. No one's within 30 yards of the guy. And Sauce and DJ are all on the other side. I'm not going to give you that effort. I'm not going to be able to catch him. I'm not going to go down there and try and tackle him. Quincy Williams doesn't look great in pass coverage this past weekend. I don't know, man. It's sad. It's frustrating. And I do think there's still potential there if they can find the right coach, like you said, to just establish a winning mindset and a kind of like FU, like we're going to come in here and like, I steal from Rex, but like, we're the Jets. We're going to come in here. We're going to try and, rip your heart out because we're just going to play winning football. It's a mindset. It's a culture thing. Kaz thinks that Saleh was a culture setter, but he thinks that because the fans didn't see that rah-rah like he was with the 49ers and he was a lot more reserved, and that it kind of rubbed Woody the wrong way, just like it rubbed the fans the wrong way about how he went about the games. But at the end of the day, like you weren't winning. You weren't winning games with Saleh. Like and winning is that ultimate deodorant for a lot of these teams, and it can hide up all your warts and what you've been doing wrong. Jets ain't winning football games, man. And right now they're at rock bottom, and I don't know how they go forward from here.
Yeah, and to your point on Saleh, I mean, he was 20-36, and like I could give you a game last year. They beat the Texans. Zach Wilson looks good in the second half that day, and then they come out and they're flat as a pancake. They lose 30-0 to Miami. That was this year's win over Houston, then play the Cardinals, flat as a pancake, never in that game. So it was a problem with Saleh as well. It's been expedited, I think, with Ulbrich taking over after 5 games. But that said, the coaching staff was not great. And I always will come back to this too, as we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the future of the Jet quarterback position here. I really do wonder if Rodgers doesn't go down 4 plays in last year, Ryan, and let's say he plays 14 or 15 games last year, right? He might end up playing every game this year. Who knows? So far, he hasn't missed a snap despite taking a beating in some of these games. But let's say last year he plays the majority of the games and they don't reach their goals because Saleh gets exposed for not being the guy, right? If they fired him last year and were able to bring in Mike Vrabel, or Jim Harbaugh was available last year, could have hired Jim Harbaugh. Like, are we having this year right now? To me, no. It all goes back to the fact that in typical Jet luck, Rodgers goes down, so everyone gets a mulligan year. So we're having this year now that could have been done last year, and you could have salvaged it going into this year with better coaching. But because last year's team got a mulligan, we're now going through it this year as we've learned the hard truth that they don't have the right coaching in order to compete in the NFL.
Well, think about what you just said. They got a mulligan last year, and they had a 7-10 team with Zach freaking Wilson, 32nd ranked quarterback play, possibly even worse than that if there were more quarterbacks. If they had taken a chance and actually gone and traded for Jacoby Brissett or gotten an actual real backup quarterback, that team would have made the playoffs last year.
Right.
You can't convince me otherwise. So that again falls on this culture of accepting the losing, right? Like last year was your chance that you make a great point about, Jake. Last year was your chance to say, nah, F that. We're not losing any more games. We're not going to miss the playoffs. We're all in already, even though we lost our star quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays in. Let's go get a real backup quarterback that can actually step into this role, and let's win and grind our way through some football games and see what we actually have in the coaching staff and on this roster and see if we can actually turn this thing around. And if you had made the playoffs last year and gotten like with 9 wins or 10 wins, the culture would have been a lot better this year.
Right.
Like the feeling around this team would have been a lot better. But no, you accepted it. You said, nah, we're just going to go with Zach. We're going to see what we got. We already know what we got in Zach Wilson. That was your biggest mistake as GM and owner of this team. And now this year, you decided not to replace your kicker the first 6 weeks of the season, and that's cost you a bunch of games. It's an acceptance of losing, and that's what drives us crazy as fans because it's like we see it on the field. Are you guys paying attention to what's on the field? Because it's right there in front of you. As like all these people and coaches and players like to say, oh, it's all right in front of us. Are you sure it's right in front of you? Because it seems like the people in charge don't understand that they can pivot, make corrections, and say, F that. We're not going to accept the losing culture and ways anymore. It's frustrating, man. Because even Kaz today was like, Ryan, there's like been this thing with the Jets now for like 20 plus years, where as soon as the season starts to turn and the losing begins, everyone in the room, everyone in the building just kind of like accepts it. And it's like this losing mentality. I can't believe he said that. I'm like, are you kidding me? That sounds like the Cleveland Browns. That sounds like the Detroit Lions before Dan Campbell walked in. That is what we're at right now for this franchise. So they need to change it. And I have to hope, and I know you are, because we're fans. Can these owners, because I think it's going to come down to Woody and Chris, because Woody, who the hell knows where he's going next year, if he's going back to UK. You know, you see things like Ian O'Connor talk about if Chris is the owner again next year and takes over from Woody, him and Aaron apparently are real buddies, and that there's a stronger chance, because Ian wrote the book about Aaron Rodgers, there's a stronger chance that Rodgers returns in 2025. So again, these are questions that I would love to have the answers for right now. We're not going to have them. And it goes back to the beginning of what you had started this all off with, Jake. We're at November 14th. It's not even freaking Thanksgiving. And we're talking about coaching changes, GMs, all the offseason talk. And we still have 7 or 8 games left in the season. It's insane, man.
Yeah.
It's actually insane.
And to your point, I've made that point a lot. Douglas, why I believe he has to go despite assembling a talented roster, I felt and still feel overall, he made the same catastrophic mistake 2 years in a row. Last year with backup quarterback, and you brought up Zerline this year with the kicking situation. I mean, if you're not going to learn from your biggest mistake, why are you the GM? You're 6 years in, you're 30-63. Now the record doesn't tell the full story, but at some point you got to win. That was supposed to be this year, and it's not good enough. You got to bring in new people. I'm right there with you.
And the other thing that I think a lot of people need to start hammering, and by the way, Joe Douglas is a dead man walking after he talked to the media last week. I've never heard that man so down and low, even though the team was losing. He could tell, like, this guy knows once Saleh was fired, he lost all control of this team. Woody Johnson's taking it back, and it's pretty much he's counting his days until he's gone. But I want to know the real football X's and O reason why John Franklin Myers was traded. Like, I get the move for Hassan Reddick, but I was hoping that Reddick, John Franklin Myers, Quinnen, and Jermaine Johnson were going to be your deadly D-line rotation. You gutted your roster when you took John Franklin Myers, a guy who is a culture player. Let's not forget, John Franklin Myers was on the Rams that went in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. He had a monster year. Somehow he ended up on the Jets. It was actually a great move by Joe Douglas to bring him in.
Yep.
Extended him because he was a culture guy. He performed for the contract, and you rewarded him. But then you decided to trade him for pennies on the dollar, 2027 6th-round pick or 2026 6th-round pick. It's like, it's a terrible trade. And it wasn't that bad of a contract. And as a guy, the locker room loved him. They loved that guy. And you could see the effect he already has on the Denver Broncos. Joe Douglas should be killed for that. This is a terrible move. And Hassan Reddick move just looks horrendous right now because of, again, how it worked off in the offseason. We don't know how that went with the whole contract. I think we'll learn more about it in the offseason. But again, nothing has really worked when it comes to how the Jets brought in all these free agents and moves and things like that this offseason. And we're seeing it play out. It's frustrating, man. It really is.
We're talking with Ryan Sampson. He's the co-host of the Gangs All Here podcast with the New York Post. It's him and Brian Costello, longtime Jets beat reporter. So check that out, Jet fans, if you're seeking more content. I want to give a huge shout out to Metro Funny for coming through for the people here. A 5-spot of channel memberships, which is rare these days because every Jet fan is down in the dumps. So let's fire you up, everybody. Metro Funny, thank you.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby.
Man,
Jets haven't had that fire since Rex was the coach. Mom Spaghetti, Nick Putty, Fahad Alatabi, Nick Shield. You all received channel memberships. Congratulations. Just $5 to pay it forward. Support the channel. Thank you, Metro Funny, for coming through. Super chats here from Dre. AR, not the problem. Give him a decent defense. AR's record with top 15 defense is great. So this is a nice jumping off point to what I want to get into with you, Ryan. Aaron Rodgers said yesterday he wants to come back. In fact, it was your co-host, Brian Costello, who asked the question. This was the question and answer yesterday in the Jet locker room.
You've talked about wanting to play beyond this year before. Has the way this season gone for you or as a team changed that thought at all?
Not really. Not for the negative. No, not really.
Do you still want to play in 2025?
I think so, yeah.
What do you make of this, Ryan? Good or bad that Rodgers wants to play? Do you put any stock into it with still 7 games to go? Your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers' future with the Jets?
So Jake, I'll answer that, but I want to ask you a question. Have you looked at Aaron Rodgers' stats this year and how bad they are for him statistically in his career?
Well, it's the worst year of his career for sure.
Worst year of his career. So I laugh at those type of comments because, again, go watch the film, go watch how he's playing. It ain't pretty, folks. Like when I watch the Cardinals game and you drive up and down the field running the ball well, and one thing we are not talking enough about when it comes to Aaron Rodgers and what he's doing, how many times is he changing the play at the line of scrimmage? Or
we don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. And that's why I can't totally kill Todd Downing. Like Nathaniel Hackett is whatever. Like we all know that he's a terrible coach and he has no business being on the offensive staff. But he's the only reason he's on this Jet staff is because of Aaron Rodgers, because he's friends with him. But Todd Downing, I can't kill him. This offense, though, after what they did in the second half against the Houston Texans, we watched the Cardinals game. The Cardinals are 24th ranked passing defense, and the Jets are moving the ball up and down the field the first two drives. We can't punch it into the end zone yet again. The red zone is an issue for this offense. But where is the Aaron Rodgers I was promised that the Jets were trading for? Where is this incredible Hall of Fame quarterback talent that just can execute at a high level, so much smarter than everyone else on the field, and he can make all these plays? You know what I see? I see an old, decrepit version of Aaron Rodgers right now. I see a guy out there who can't move, can't outrun any defensive linemen that are chasing him down, and I'm seeing him miss wide open guys. The Devontae Adams connection is not alive. Which is
shocking because the whole point of that was he'd be expedited into the offense quickly and be able to make plays right away.
Jake, that 3rd and 5 when he checks with them at the line of scrimmage and him and Garrett are stacked and Rodgers just throws it and Devontae goes, where the hell was the ball going? Like, where are you going, Aaron? It's weird. Like I don't think he's good anymore. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think you can win with him. Name me his best game besides the Patriots game.
What would be the second half of the Texans game?
Second half. So one half of football out of all these games.
The Bills game, I thought he played well too, though, to be fair. He almost threw for 300 yards. He threw a couple touchdowns that night. One of them, of course, was the Hail Mary. You know, if Tyron Smith doesn't commit a dumb holding penalty, Braylon Allen scores, they probably win that game, or Zerline hits his kick. So my thing with Rodgers is this. Like, you look at the stats, you project them out, he's going to probably throw around 27, 28 touchdowns, right? Completion percentage kind of be where it is. Like, it's definitely better than anything the Jets have certainly had since 2015 Fitz, which is sad. But it's like,
so low.
Like, the bar is obviously so low. And like, the biggest frustration I have is, even if this is all you were going to get from Rodgers, if you got this last year, if he was on the team last year with these numbers, they would be 10-7, if not better. But like, the defense is deteriorated. The special teams, we know how bad the kicking game has been. It's been terrible. So I guess my question is, if he wants to come back, I could be talked into it if there's a plan in place to draft someone that will sit behind him. And he's essentially what Joe Flacco now is, or Sam Darnold. He's a bridge quarterback for a year until he proves he could go out there and be great. And maybe, you know, if he's here next year with better coaching, they are winning a lot more games. Because I don't know, maybe this is the Jet fan in me. I could see him going somewhere else and probably playing a lot better, the same way Favre did. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all. So, what are their options if you don't bring back Aaron Rodgers is kind of my thing.
Well, I mean, if let's say the Jets don't do well down the stretch, they don't win many games, and they end up with a top 10 pick, you're not going to draft one?
I'm definitely drafting a quarterback no matter what happens the rest of the way.
Are we sure the new GM and coach are going to be on that plan and that wavelength? Like, again, these are all questions we are so far away from that we don't know because they still have so many games to play the rest of this year. But the hypotheticals are, you can go crazy with them because you could say, if you bring back Aaron Rodgers, like you said, do you draft a quarterback? Is he a bridge quarterback? It's a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money if they exercise. It gets $35 million option. The Jets would exercise if he comes back next year. It's $49 million if he retires, which is crazy. All the void years are coming on after that. The cap.
You could spread it out over 2 years though. If he were to retire, it'd be $15 million in dead next year and like $35 million in 20
first cut.
Yeah,
right?
which I'd imagine is what they would do.
Yeah, I would hope so. But again, the void years are crazy down the line too. So thank God the cap goes up every single year because that's going to be brutal down the stretch. You're going to pay the Aaron Rodgers tax no matter what. Like this is the bill is going to come at the end of the season. So whether you choose to stick with him again next year, yes. Can you talk me into it? Sure. But I don't know if you can truly count on him at next year. Going to be 42 years old. He's not getting any younger. I heard some crazy stuff with DiPietro and Roethlisberger. Like DiPietro this morning was like, oh, Aaron will be another year removed from his Achilles injury. And I'm like, he's 42 going on 43. Like, you can't count on a guy being 2 years removed at 42 years old to be better from the Achilles injury. And I don't think that's the problem. He's not that fast anymore. And again, that brings questions. If you're bringing Aaron Rodgers back, you exercising that $36 million option or whatever it is for Devontae Adams? Are you bringing him back?
Well, the question you have with the strategy is, if you're bringing him back, you're no longer making moves about all in for Aaron Rodgers. Like, my point is, the only way he comes back is if you tell him this regime is still drafting your replacement and we're on a year-to-year basis with you. And he would understand that. Like, the Jordan Love thing is not even comparable to this situation, Aaron. If he gives you a hard time about it, he'd be gone anyway. But like, quick Google search of like free agent quarterbacks available, because the Jets are going to need to add someone if Rodgers is not here, even if they draft someone. Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke.
Sam Darnold thing back, man. Like, bringing Sam back wouldn't be terrible on a 1-year deal.
He's the best guy, though. That's my point. Like Rodgers is better than all the options you could argue that would be available in free agency, other than depending on how you feel about Darnold, who's kind of come back down to earth these last 5 games.
Yeah, I think, Jake, the big question you have to ask yourself, though, is Aaron going to have an influence on who they're hiring as head coach?
He better not, because he's not going to be here beyond just next year. But
you say that.
Now, do I think the Jets will go to him and let him talk with the coach? Sure, but I don't think Chris or Woody are going to be influenced by like whatever Rodgers wants at this point. He's not like, if he was old Aaron Rodgers, they wouldn't be needing a new coach in the first place, because Saleh would be here right now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and the thing again and this is what Kaz told me. He goes, he doesn't. First off, he doesn't think Rodgers is going to be back with the Jets next year. He just thinks that the Jets are going to cut ties. They'll exercise the post June 1st cut most likely, and
so is Rodgers playing somewhere else, or is he retired?
I didn't ask him that because I thought that was crazy enough, because I think Rodgers is back next year. When he asked him yesterday and he said, I think so. Yeah, I think that means Rodgers plans to play for the Jets again next season, because I just think he has too much of an ego to go out like this.
Well, I do think the next 7 games decide a lot. I think right now he's planning on playing, because he's not looking at it like we're going to lose out and finish with 3 wins. He might look at it like, hey, what if we go 4-3 down the stretch? We finish 7-10. Could he, in his mind, be like, hey, we get a better coaching staff here? I think Devontae here for the whole year. I'm just telling you how a player like him is going to spin it in his mind.
No, I agree.
He might look at it like, I'm going to come back. If they could draft my replacement, that's fine. But there is talent on this team with better coaching. We could be in the playoffs next year.
You say that again. This is all depending on what Aaron Rodgers wants. Like, if he wants to come back and play for the Jets, I think Chris and Woody would welcome it and be like, yeah, we'll take you back. But these are conversations also for future coaching candidates. Like, are you comfortable with Rodgers being your quarterback next year while we hopefully draft one, in the first round? The other thing that I keep thinking about is, how's Aaron going to do learning a new offensive system? Because you cannot bring back Hackett and you cannot bring back Todd Downing. You have to bring in a new offensive scheme. How's Rodgers going to do with that? Because if you remember, when Green Bay, when they hired LaFleur, it was tough sledding to go at the beginning. Like, Rodgers was very like butting heads with LaFleur because it's different terminology, different adjustments. But Rodgers also won back-to-back MVPs under LaFleur.
And the first year before he won the back-to-back MVPs, they were 13-3, and he was like 26 touchdowns, 2 picks. Like, he was like the ultimate efficient game manager that year, and they won 13 games.
Right. So that's where, like, you kind of have to check his ego, and this is where we need the big boys in the room. You need a real football mind as a GM and say, listen, Aaron, we love you. If you want to come back, we'll exercise the option, but we're going to draft your replacement. But we need you to learn this new offensive system and help this future quarterback learn how to be a professional quarterback in the NFL. That's the dream scenario, Jake. But we are so far from that. Like you said, this stretch of games could determine if Rodgers actually is coming back in the offseason. I think he'll be back. My fear, and this is something I want to throw at you. Would it shock you if the Jets, let's say they finish with 2 or 3 more wins the rest of this year, they decide to bring in Aaron's old buddy, Mike McCarthy?
I would be shocked by that. I really would. But if they do that, then there's really no hope as a fan of this team anymore. Because then it's like the 42-year-old quarterback clearly is running the show if Mike McCarthy gets the job. So I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. Woody fired Salah on his own. Like, I don't know if Rodgers was 100% on board on that from everything I'm gathering, talking with more and more people. So, like, I don't think they're going to hire Mike McCarthy. I really don't.
My only concern with that is because like I said, the Ian O'Connor tweet does reveal something to me that Christopher will most likely be in charge at in June, July, when Woody goes to fly off to the UK, and these decisions will be made already by then. But I do wonder if Chris calls up Aaron and says, listen, we're really thinking about, who would be the next head coach? Like, would Mike interest you? He's apparently reached out because he's been let go by Dallas, and he's shown interest. He's won a Super Bowl with you. He's had somewhat of a winning pedigree. And Aaron's like, oh, I love Mike. Mike will be great. It feels like another thing of the Peyton Manning calling up Chris and be like, hey, man, Adam Gase is a really great guy. You should definitely hire him. That's my fear, that the Jets have the wrong influences on these decisions.
Yeah, look, until they hire like competent people, you can question everything. I just personally don't think the Jets, from a PR standpoint, because they do listen, could get away with hiring Mike McCarthy. Like, remember, Woody Johnson was talked out of hiring Doug Marrone because Manish Mehta ran a smear campaign in the New York Daily News leading up to it.
How far we've come.
I don't see McCarthy getting a third head coaching job, and he's going to go from Dallas to the Jets. Like, no way.
That's my ultimate fear. And then we could talk about Mr. Kaz, his pick.
Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy.
Oh,
Can you believe that?
If the Jets hire Matt Nagy, that's like Gase all over again, no? Like,
oh, yeah.
It's very Gase-like.
Yes. It's a disgruntled former offensive coordinator that's playing with a Hall of Fame, if not the greatest quarterback to ever play, in Patrick Mahomes. And he's apparently taking some of that credit and spinning it into his next future job. It's just like, I didn't even hear Nagy's name in the last head coaching cycle. Why all of a sudden would his name appear again in this next head coach cycle? Can you answer me that one? Because I have no idea how that can happen.
And their offense is not even as good this year as other years.
Yes.
This is not like the vintage Chiefs offense of the last couple of years. They're having a down year. And I know they have had some like big injuries for sure. And Kelsey's older, but like, come on.
I thought that was a bananas take. And then Kaz apparently was saying that Connor told him, you need to tweet that. That'll get the fans riled up. It's like, well, so I do want to ask you, because I don't know if you saw, I did a show with Frankie on Monday, and his clip went viral too. He said John Gruden. What do you think about that name?
It's Jets, Jets. I love Fireman Ed too.
I'm not against it. I'm not. Because Gruden's an offensive guy. He's won before. He's the kind of culture changer you're looking for. His resume is not that impressive if you look at it post his Super Bowl win in 2002. But given the dire state of where this franchise is at right now, he could be the guy that can maybe get them back on track from a culture standpoint. So I'm not against it. I also checked in with people in the know. So he signed a deal with Barstool Sports today, right? Yes. He's going to do some content with them. It's a 3-year deal. However, in the contract, there is a clause that if he gets any coaching job at any level, he could leave immediately. So he's still keeping his options open.
Same thing with Belichick and his media obligations. He has an opt-out. As soon as he gets a head coaching job, he's gone.
I confirmed it today with Gruden's people. So that is a fact. And also, we saw this with Doc Rivers last year. He left the ESPN finals booth to go and be the Bucs coach midway through the year. So
do you think that's a move that the NFL would actually allow?
That's the question. I don't know. If they want the lawsuit to drop, you let him back in the league and he'll sign, an NDA. He can't talk about anything. They settle and he gets his job. He wants a job because it's ultimately about money. He wants money. So, and he wants to coach again. I think that's clear from anyone who's talked to him or watched any of his content he's put out on his awesome YouTube channel. He's a name I'm talking to. I'll tell you what, because I do think, unless you're telling me, Ryan, you tell me how you feel about this approach, unless you're getting Ben Johnson, I really do believe the next head coach has to be someone that has had experience. Sure, an offensive guy would be the preference. Like if Stefanski were to be fired by the Browns, I'd love him in a second. But Mike Vrabel is at the top of my list.
Yes.
I'm interviewing Kingsbury again. Like maybe he's learned from his first stint as a head coach. Dan Quinn's having success second time around.
I love Dan Quinn when they first interviewed him. I thought he should have gotten the job over Todd Bowles. Remember when they hired Ron Wolf and Charlie Casserly? And I think it was between Quinn and Bowles for the Jets job because they're both New Jersey guys. They were local guys. And I'm like, Dan Quinn's impressive. And that he was before Saleh, right? Because he came from the Seattle system over there under Pete Carroll.
Yeah. Brian Flores, another name, by the way, someone with experience, Brooklyn guy, overachieved in Miami. Maybe he's learned from how everything went down, how he handled his relationship with Tua. Like, to me, experience is so important in this role because I'm tired of these guys coming in, learning on the job. They get beaten down. And sure, it worked with Rex. That's a long time ago. And this hire to me is too important. And when they hired Rex, the infrastructure that had been in place from Parcells to winning with Herm to Mangini even having a really talented team that made the playoffs one year, that was still there for Rex. It was Mangini's players Rex was winning with right away. They had a winning pedigree. They made the playoffs a lot before Rex got there. Right now, this is a loser franchise that hasn't sniffed winning since 2010. They've had one winning season since they last made the playoffs. So I just feel like if you could get the hire right with someone with experience, that to me is more important than like the hot shot coordinator that's never done it before, unless you tell me it's Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I don't see Ben Johnson ever taking this job. He's going to be very selective just because of how hot his name is. He might not even like any of the openings that are available this year, just because he's apparently very picky on where the situation is, how much control he'll have, and that's just not going to happen with the Jets. Because why would he take the Jets job? It's just not something I think would be appealing to someone like him. I totally agree, and Kaz agrees. It needs to be an experienced head coach, a former head coach that's done it, can set the culture. I agree with you. Vrabel's number one. Vrabel is the guy. If you can get Mike Vrabel, that will instantly bring a winning pedigree, a tough ass mindset to this Jets franchise. It would change the entire culture. You can convince me that Mike Vrabel can squeeze easily 3, 4, 5 more wins out of this roster than any other coaching staff that you've had in the last 2 decades plus. I mean, I think he's such a great football mind and such a good culture guy. It's something this franchise has lacked and desperately needed. Gruden, on the other hand, and Frankie warmed me up to this idea because I thought it was crazy and I thought no chance, but I've thought about it more. Yes, the record is not what you had thought. And the Oakland thing, or the Vegas thing, Raiders, did not work out well. Besides the email thing, which is bad, his draft picks were terrible. You need someone in charge that's taking care of the draft for him.
He can't pick the players, 100%.
He cannot pick the players. But I said to Kaz, I go, John Gruden would instantly be the best offensive mind the Jets have had in the last 25 plus years. And he's like, that's a really low bar. And I'm like, yeah, think about the offensive coordinators and coaches that they've had. Gruden would be the best easily the last 25 years. He brings his own system in. It works. It's what McVay's learned from. It's what other guys have learned from. It's part of that coaching tree. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'd be pretty pumped if they did ended up with a guy like Gruden. But
he'd want Rodgers as his quarterback for a year and then a chance to draft someone and say, by the way, if you hired Vrabel, I bet you Vrabel would be like, I could win with Aaron next year and we'll draft someone. Like, these guys will look at the team and be like, with better coaching, we're competing for a playoff spot. The same way. It's different with Herbert in LA because he's young and he's still really, really good. But Harbaugh wanted that job because he's like, yeah, we might not have the most talented team, but I'll come in there. There's enough there. We can win with it. Like, he saw it. Like, these guys want to win right away that are proven winners.
It's got to be the sell job from the Jets and whoever that GM is. They have to sell that, we can get more wins out of this roster. And we believe that you are that coach that can bring that for us. That's how you have to sell it. And I also think you have to back up the Brinks truck for Vrabel. Like, I'd pay him whatever he wanted. You're that desperate. And this franchise needs to be that desperate. And Woody Johnson needs to be that desperate. He hasn't been afraid to open his checkbook here the last couple of years. Now's really the time to open up his checkbook and hopefully get a real head coach into this franchise. But yeah, man, I really don't know. Again, there's so many unknowns. The biggest thing, though, they need to find a real football mind that's going to bring in, and from the GM point, and this is what I'm saying, they need a John Dorsey type as a GM. That is my feeling. They need a John Dorsey type GM, a guy who's going to be a complete leader, knows what kind of culture he wants to set. He's going to set the attitude for the front office, for the team, what players they're going to be drafting. You need to set that kind of mentality. I love what the Lions and Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have put there. It's incredible what they've been able to do with a franchise that has been even worse than the Jets, if you want to say, but they're well on their way now. And they took a guy like Jared Goff, someone that no one really thought could play at this level like he did with the Rams and McVay, and he's proven to play even better. So I hope the Jets can do that, but hope is hope, and it can die very quickly with this franchise because they've proven they can take our hope, like for this season, and just completely piss it down the drain.
They got to get it right because that's the only way it turns around. We're lauding the Lions as an example on how to build your football team. Like the Lions have a worse history than the Jets.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's what we're talking about here. So it could change. I mean, I don't know if you're a basketball fan, Ryan, but I'm a huge Knicks fan. I mean, James Dolan didn't magically become a good owner. No, he just finally hired the right people to run his franchise, and the Knicks are now a championship contender. Like that's what it comes down to. Now, I will ask you about Rex Ryan because I'm seeing a couple comments about Rex. A lot of what you said about Gruden defensively, that was Rex. Plus, Rex had success here in this market. Your thoughts on Rex as a candidate? Because I do think he is going to get an interview. People should prepare for Rex Ryan getting an interview. I think Woody will give him an interview.
Yes. There's the PR part of it that Woody would love because it would be a great story for the New York media. I worked closely with Rex for 7 years at ESPN, and that man, there's a TV version of Rex, but there is the coach, and the coach knows ball. Like I can say that without a doubt. Like he can be the bravado brash on TV because that's what we wanted out of him as producers. Like we wanted him to be that guy, like be that guy in the media, like who you were when you talked to the media. Like his great news press conferences were always like must-watch TV for Jets fans and for the media themselves when they were asking him questions. But then there's the guy behind the scenes that will talk ball and X's and O's with you. And he can draw up schemes. He can show you what other teams are doing, how to put guys in the right positions, how to adjust. Listen to the stories Bart Scott tells you about when he was playing with under him. Jim Leonard, look what he's doing, and he came from the Rex Ryan tree. It's just, I would love it because
Jim's the DC, by the way, if the Jets do hire Rex. That'd be pretty cool.
I'd be all for that. The thing, again, the big question I have with Rex, and this is something I hope that he's learned over his years now being away from football, because he's been away for a long time now. We cannot deny that. Who is going to be that offensive coordinator? Because they have to be the absolute running the ship, everything offense. And Rex is going to stay away from that. He'll be the head coach, and he'll set the culture, but he needs a great offensive mind that's going to bring a good scheme, a modern scheme, not an old antiquated one that Rodgers runs, and something that you can truly look at and go, that's a creative mind. That's someone that's going to bring a really explosive offense here. That's the big one. And I'm not going to divulge, but I know that Rex has a lot of ties to the Lions and that offensive staff. And he knows Ben Johnson very well because his son works over there.
Right. Seth Ryan is a receivers coach on
Correct.
the team. And Rex, you hear him talk about modern offenses. He's very aware of what's working in today's NFL.
Correct.
So from that standpoint, his son still being on the Lions staff under Ben Johnson, Rex called Ben Johnson a boy genius, super genius. Like I'd hire him in 2 seconds if you could get him. So that tells me Rex is still very plugged in and aware of like where the NFL is, because he has not coached since the end of that 2016 season with the Bills.
And here's the thing I'll say, Jake. Again, people need to go watch. If you want to go watch fun tape, go watch the Lions. The Lions aren't doing anything that's like out of this world, like Patrick Mahomes, like, and Andy Reid, like, oh my God, I've never seen something drawn up like that, out of the huddle. But they have one of the best offensive lines in football. And what did Rex have in 09 and 10 that helped them win back-to-back AFC championship games? They had the best offensive line in football.
Can he bring Bill Callahan with him, though, as the O-line coach?
Well, Callahan's in Tennessee now, right, with his son. I don't think he'll be able to.
Can we get him away? Like, we got to hire a real O-line coach because Keith Carter ain't it.
But that's the mindset that Rex is going to bring to this front office and be like, I need bullies up front. I need real offensive linemen, guys that we can count on that can help us run the ball, because that is how the line's running a two-headed monster with Montgomery and Gibbs, and they're making play action passes easy for Jared Goff with really, really talented tight end and wide receivers. It's a fun scheme to watch. But again, it comes back to how you are up front. I think Rex will bring that to the Jets. I know he'll interview great, and I would think he probably ends up as one of the finalists. Would it shock me if he ends up with the job? No, not at all. It would not shock me at all if Rex Ryan's back with the Jets.
the questions you have with Rex is who's the GM? Because when Rex started to get involved with Tannenbaum picking players,
Please
that's
don't
when
bring Tannenbaum back.
it
Don't
was
bring him
bad.
back.
No, and I don't think Tannenbaum would be offered the job. I don't. But I think Rex has more of a chance than a lot of people realize. I don't know if he's the number 1, number 2, even number 3 choice, but he's going to get an interview, Jet fans. Prepare yourself for that. Like, don't be shocked. I'm telling you.
He wants that job. I know he wants that
badly.
job. Yeah,
badly.
He's been pining for it. He wants back with the Jets because he feels like there's unfinished business, and there is.
Right.
I mean, he wants to go to a Super Bowl with this team and bring it back, and he loves his team, and that's something that you can't say for a lot of these candidates like that we talk about. Like they could potentially, like buy into the culture and establish all this, but Rex is a true like Jets fan. Like he loves this franchise. He wants to win here in New York. He knows the history. The one name I do want to throw at you, and this is something I think it might sound crazy, but he's my number 2 candidate, believe it or not, after Vrabel. It's Todd Monken. Like I know he's
I like
not
Monken.
I know he's not a head coach. He hasn't been a head coach, but everywhere he's gone, his offenses have worked. And you look at Lamar, he's having probably another MVP-like season. He's doing it with all kinds of different quarterbacks. He did it at Georgia. He did with Baker. He can make offenses work. And he's older. He's in his 50s. He's been around the NFL. He's been in college. He's coached all types of players. He's been around, the newer generation and the older generation. I kind of like him, man. Like I know he interviewed when was it Saleh or Gase when he interviewed the first time?
The year they hired Gase, he was a
Gase year,
a candidate.
Right? So,
yep.
like, I kind of like him. I like if you sold me on first time coordinator, that'd be my guy right there, Todd Monken to go get.
Well, he's an offensive guy. So, like, to me, as much as I think some of these other DCs out there are qualified, it's just you can't go down the first-time head coach with a defensive background again. Like, you can't do it. And Aaron Glenn is probably going to get a chance to be a head coach somewhere, and I think he would jump at the Jet job. He loved his time here. I've heard him talk about it in the past, but you can't hire a DC again. You can't. I don't think it's like Vrabel. Yeah, he's a DC. He has defensive background, but he's a proven head coach. It's different when you're trying the DC thing after you're coming off Saleh and Bulls and going back to Rex and then Mangini. And like you got to hire an offensive coordinator if they're going to be a first-time head coach. And Monken at age 58 is seasons and he's been around, so it's a little different than like the boy wonder you'd be trying there.
No, 100%. And man, I just keep thinking about Vrabel and Tennessee, the shit he used to do. I mean, remember that Derrick Henry, like halfback pass and the goal line, he would do stuff like that. He would turn Ryan Sampson into his athleticism and tell the offensive coordinator. I mean, he knew how to find good offensive staff too. Don't forget, he found LaFleur. He hired him first, and then he went and hired Arthur Smith, both guys who turned out to be head coaches. And we've seen what LaFleur's turned into. He can recognize good offensive schemes, and he knows how to hire right guys. He's great on special teams, like Vrabel. Remember the shit he used to pull with Bill Belichick during the games? I just remember like the battles he used to go into, and that's a guy who's on top of his stuff, and he knows when to call trick plays, when to have special teams like block punts and things like that. Like he's on top of it. That's something the Jets have lacked for years now. Someone that's on top of it and knows where they're going with everything.
Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Shout out to everyone who did live right now. Hit the like button if you're one of the 400 plus that's in here. I see we have a couple comments that need to be addressed here. This one from Paul Gallant. Rodgers would be a great head coach. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time today, we say hello to Stupid Town to Mr. Paul Gallant.
All the pieces come together in a season. It can be absolute perfection, folks, because that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the Jets, led by Zach Wilson, will fucking suck ass, guys.
Paul's a friend. He's down in Houston. He used to be a Patriots fan. He maybe dropped them along the way, like his Red Sox fandom. I don't know. But Paul, I do miss you as well. I hope you're well. Let's see.
Is the head coach right now. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a head coach, right? They were poorly coached with Saleh. They're uncoached. They had no coach with Jeff Ulbrich. I mean, and he's a nice guy. I think he should be a DC somewhere next year, maybe. And he certainly would be better prepared if he knew he was getting this job and like had time to hire his staff and be ready for the role. But he's not the guy. Tyrone with a super chat. People slamming Rodgers, but he has a running game. Brees has like 500 yards running. Rodgers 24 stats last year. We'd be 8-2. Well, we said this earlier. I do agree that this version of Aaron on last year's team with the top 5 defense they had, Zerline had missed 3 kicks all year. they're winning 10 games last year instead of 7, like at least.
Yeah.
So I do agree with that. But this year's team is nowhere near last year's team, which is sad because we counted on the defense still being very good, the special team still being elite, and the offense taking a major step forward, and it hasn't. It went from 32nd to I think they're like 19th or 20th in the league, which is not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, and the run game there's no excuse. I don't know. Rodgers, and I was thinking about this, he never, like, Aaron Jones is like his best running back he's ever played with. And those under LaFleur. LaFleur wants to run the ball. So again, it makes you question, like, is that Rodgers now changing a lot of these plays at the line of scrimmage? Because the Packers wanted to run the ball with Aaron Jones. And when they brought in also, I can't think of the big boy's name from Boston College. The other running back that the Packers drafted.
Dillon, right? AJ Dillon.
Yeah, AJ Dillon. Sorry, thank you. Like, they want to establish the run, and I think I do think Monken and the Jets want to, but again, these are questions we'll ask in the offseason. How many times does Rodgers go up to that line of scrimmage and say, I'm changing the play? I'm not running the ball with Brees. And because they're not running the ball well at all. And they need to.
Some transaction news here. I just saw this. The Chiefs are signing Spencer Schrader off the Jets practice squad and placing Harrison Butker on injured reserve due to a knee injury. Damn.
Gonna happen to a better guy.
See you later, Spencer Schrader. So who's our kicker then? Patterson then for another week, right?
If they can bring back Patterson, right?
Well, what did Schrader kick on Sunday for the Jets?
Schrader kicked on Sunday.
So I guess we're going with Patterson then this week. But like, this is still so Jets because Schrader actually hit kicks on Sunday. Like the one game we actually had a competent field goal kicking, it didn't matter because they got their doors blown off. This doesn't make any sense either.
Is Joe Douglas asleep at the wheel right now?
Joe Douglas is so checked out, man.
It's crazy.
Because why would you let the guy go? Just sign him to your active roster and make him the kicker if he actually hit kicks. Unless they think that the guy they signed is better, then why didn't he kick last week for them? And this guy actually hit his kicks.
It's wild, man.
I mean, Joe Douglas is clearly given up. I mean, why are we still trying to think this season could be?
And that's the thing. Like, there's still so many games left, which is
still
crazy.
7 games left. Like,
I know.
Like Mike Greenberg said this on ESPN this week, and I laughed. He's like, the question on the screen is the Jets season over? The answer is unfortunately not. Like, there's still 7 games left.
Dude, and so Kaz is like, again, at the end of the show, he's trying to sell me on, like, if the Jets go on a run here, let's say they win 5 in a row, are you buying back into the season? So the schedule, if you look at it, it's not a terrible schedule coming up, but I don't think they run the table at 5-0. He goes, if they're 5-0 and they're 8-7 heading into Buffalo, are you back in? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'd be back in because then all of a sudden you're above 500 and you're going to play Buffalo in Buffalo. I don't know, man. Do you think that's even possible? The Jets can run the table for the next 5 games?
No. But I also didn't picture them being. I didn't picture them being 3-7. Like, so what do I know? Maybe those. So
Colts, Seahawks, at Dolphins, at Jaguars, home against the Rams.
In theory, they could easily win all those games or lose all of them. Like, that's the Jets. Like they're not playing world beaters here. But here's the thing. I actually do think they're going to win Sunday. I know you picked against them on the podcast. Yeah. I think the Jets actually do win Sunday. But then I have zero faith and would easily pick against them. I picked against them the last 2 weeks, but I'd pick against them already against Seattle coming off the bye. I don't care if Seattle's coming cross country. It doesn't matter to me. The Jets with extra rest, it's the worst thing ever. If they could play Thursday night every week, they wouldn't lose. But I have no faith in this team. One, being able to put together a winning streak because they've shown you no evidence of it. And 2, they never handle extra rest well. So, like, I think they're going to lose the game off the bye. It won't even matter.
Jake, I mean, we're talking about a team just, again, this weekend against the Colts.
A favorite again, by the way.
Yeah, crazy. Shane Steichen definitely turned on that tape, saw what Kyler Murray did on the read option with Michael Clemens and said, yeah, Anthony Richardson, you're going back in. Like, everyone's blaming the owner. Like, I'm sorry. You watch the film. The Jets are terrible against the run. They're terrible. And they're terrible against mobile quarterbacks. They couldn't contain Drake May. Like, against the Patriots, Drake May was running roughshod on them. So what makes you think Anthony Richardson is going to do the same thing against this Jets defense this weekend? Nothing's changing.
Yeah.
Because we're putting pads on during practice week. Give me a break.
Well, for sure. I mean, a tackling presentation in week 11, like, That's where we're at.
We're back in high school now. We're back in high school playing football, showing these guys how to tackle players. That's what we're doing right now.
The reason why I think they'll win, though, because I think Richardson will turn it over a few times. Kind of like Will Levis gave them the game with his turnovers. Like, I could see that happening. I think the Jets will get at least one, if not maybe 2 picks this week. I could see Richardson pressing, knowing that he's playing for, like, he might look at it like, I'm playing for my career right now. Holy crap, they're going back to me. Like, I could see the Jets forcing a couple turnovers. They're going to get another interception eventually. So I feel like this is the game where it will finally happen.
I get flashbacks to 2021 playing the Colts and
Jonathan Taylor
just going off against this Jets defense. CJ Mosley trying to chase him down. That's another thing. CJ Mosley's like, who knows? Like, that's completely fallen off a cliff. Like, injury-wise and age-wise, that hit him completely this year.
And it's killed the defense because he's the leader out there and he gets them in the right positions and he's physical. He brings that mentality. They don't have leadership. Like, and look, CJ's, I'm sure, doing his best from the sidelines, but like, it's tough to lead when you're not out there, when you're not playing.
Yeah, I just, again, there is not many positives to look at this team besides Garrett and Will McDonald. Unless you have any others. I don't really have many. I mean,
John Simpson's been very good.
John Simpson's actually been very good. You are right on that. But the rest of the offensive line has been meh. I mean, Morgan Moses has been battling. Warrior. Dude's a total warrior. But this team, man, it's just not fun to root for. They make you not want to root for them just because of how they play.
Well, these like the expectations haven't been this high in forever, and they're not even like fake good. Like, even if they like if Zerline hit a couple kicks, like, they'd have major flaws, but at least it'd be like, well, they still have hope. But it's like everything is bad right now. There's nothing you can point to that this team does well. Besides lose, if you want to say that. They lose well. They know they and you know what? They practice great, apparently. They lead the NFL over the last 14 seasons of great weeks in practice.
In your heart of hearts, do you think Aaron Rodgers is back next year?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, with a rookie they draft in the first round and a brand new head coach who sold on the, hey, we try and win in year one while that rookie sits. I'm trying to will that into existence as well, because I also think that's, like, to me, the most logical thing you could do, because this team has talent on it. Like, I think they could win games next year with competent quarterback play, which I think Rodgers could be like what Flacco was to Cleveland last year. I don't think it's crazy. And, you know, you have a rookie sitting, and that rookie will play if they fall out of it last year. Like, at this time next year, if they're 3-7 with Rodgers, he's going on the bench, and in comes the rookie quarterback.
Damn.
What other options are there? I mean, the free agent quarterbacks stink.
No, I know.
You got Jordan Travis who could play a little bit. I think maybe you'll see him and a rookie, you know, get some opportunities next year, potentially.
Yeah. Rodgers, he's fallen. Like, I know people don't want to hear this. I just think he's fallen so far. Just like not as bad as Mosley, but he doesn't throw the ball down the field. Like, he doesn't. Like, that duck he threw to Xavier Gibson. His arm don't look good when he's throwing the deep ball anymore either. Like, he's not.
It's not good, but he has moments where he does look good. So that's why I think these next 7 games tell us a lot. If he's completely shot, right, we see more Cardinal games down the stretch, like, then maybe he would step away. Maybe, you know what I mean? Because I don't think Rodgers.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think Rodgers is going to go out there if, like, he truly thinks he's got no shot. Like, I still think he looks at it like, I haven't played great. We're not eliminated yet. I still believe in my heart of hearts we're capable of being better, going on a little run here. If that doesn't happen, he falls flat on his face, the team is terrible, then maybe he walks away. But I don't think he's going to walk away just yet. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, again, there needs to be, to your point, that there needs to be a change, clearly, with the head coach and a staff that can support this team better and get more out of this team. This offense is so predictable, and it's so easy to defend when a guy is coming up to the line of scrimmage trying to change an audible 2 or 3 plays out of the series, and he's letting the play clock run down to 0 every single time. These defenses know, like, what's coming. Like, he's not throwing the ball deep. I just got to play everything in front of me and double Garrett. And Devontae just isn't Devontae right now, and that connection isn't special. There's not much to hope for from this Jets offense unless Breece Hall all of a sudden turns into Breece Hall and starts being more explosive and
you got to use him more too. Like, like they're running the ball well on Sunday and then they go away from it when they get, you know, inside the 5-yard line. Like, I think
Rodgers
that's part of it too.
Going away from it.
Right. It's a real thing. It's just, I think these next 7 games though, Ryan, they tell us a lot because it's hard to really project the future of this team until you know, just does it get a little better? Is it absolutely brutal where it's like you bottomed out completely? Like if this team finished with a top 3 pick, I don't think Rodgers is here. But they go 4-3 over the next 7, and they finish 7-10, or even 6 and whatever, 6-11. I could see the path to it.
It's like
because like who's the quarterback next year if it's not Rodgers? Would be my question to you.
Unless you're trading for someone.
Like who's the starting quarterback, right? I think you're going to draft someone. Who starts week 1?
That's what I'm saying. Like unless they trade for someone, like you said, there's not many great free agent options.
Like, are they trading for Kirk Cousins and like because Atlanta's ready for Michael Penix? Like I don't see that happening. Dak's not getting traded in Dallas.
It's bleak, man.
It's not great.
It's depressing right now. That you're depressing me even more right now with this Jets team where we're heading. You
can play Tyrod next year, but he'll be hurt by game 5, and then the rookie who you didn't want to play right away is going to be thrusted out there. Someone wrote Baker. Baker's under contract, brother. He's not available.
Under contract. Yeah, they missed the boat on that one. Even if they finish with 6 or 7 wins, like that's the worst. Like that you're not fully, you know what I mean? Like you're not fully in that tank mode where like you're finishing with a top pick. You're just somewhere in the middle. And we as fans go, oh, here we go. If they had a kicker, they would have won 3 more games. They would have finished with 10 wins, and then they would have made the playoffs probably. And it's like, let's run it all back. Like that to me is where you get in trouble. And that's where I wonder if you start really not changing what we're asking for real changes for.
Well, here's the thing though, Ryan. You say run it all back. I think under no circumstance can you run it back without a succession plan at quarterback. So you need to draft someone in the first round, even if Rodgers is here next year with a new staff.
I agree, but I'm saying run it back in the sense of Rodgers, Devontae, Garrett, Brees, Sauce. Defense has maybe a little bit more beef in the middle, and CJ Mosley comes back. He tries to power through. Olu's starting at left tackle, but the whole offensive line's the same. You bring Moses back.
Is that not the best path though, given the other options out there? What else would you do if you're taking like this team has some talent on it? Like Devontae, hit or miss whether he's back. I guess that's Rodgers dependent on how much he wants. But
I just don't know if I want to pay a 32-year-old wide receiver $35 million next year.
Well, he's definitely you're gonna cut him and redo his contract. I mean, that much is correct for sure. But I don't know. I just look at like the alternatives out there. Like I don't want to like trade away all these like young star players and I think with better coaching they can win more games, and with a succession plan at quarterback, not having to throw a rookie out there, guy who could learn from a Hall of Famer for a year. There's worse ways to do it. Like I just look because I don't see any other options out there, man. Like I look at the quarterback class, it is putrid that is available in free agency, and you know what? Maybe it'll be beneficial for the Jets to not have a top 3 pick that they feel pressure to throw out there right away. They pick a quarterback 11th overall because that's where they end up picking. And then that guy gets to sit for a year and compete with Jordan Travis. And then, maybe Jordan Travis is our Brock Purdy. We won't know, but give him a chance to compete with the guy that you took.
Yeah. All right. You're talking me into it a little bit, man. I
don't know what the alternative is though. Yeah, you can move on from Rodgers, but then what? Who's going to be the quarterback you're bringing in?
Sam Darnold.
Would he want to come back to New York? I don't know if he would.
Maybe there's like a Rex Ryan feel but if you, let's say you hired Rex, he doesn't like Sam. I don't know.
Rex, I think would want Rodgers. He tried to get Favre to stay when he first got to the Jets.
Let's run
and by the way,
Rex.
Brett Favre went out there and led the Vikings to the NFC title game, 12 wins, had one of his best seasons.
Jake, stop trying to convince me that they were better off for Rodgers next year.
I don't know the alternative. That's what I'm saying. I'm not telling you Rodgers has been good, but I do think he's been good enough at times to win with a better kicker and better coaching. Like that's how I look at it. I don't see the alternative. Like if you tell me they could bring in a better option than Rodgers, I'm all for it. Because then you just, you rip the Band-Aid off and deal with it. But I don't see the better option right now. I don't.
No, there's no better option. You made your bread, and you're gonna have to lay with it, and it's gonna be Aaron Rodgers again next year, 2025, as long as there's not total collapse here at the end. Yeah, man, I'm depressed.
It's
I'm
tough,
so
man.
Depressed right now, man.
Oh, all right, Jets will win Sunday, man.
Hey, do you actually care about them winning that game?
No, but I'm still rooting for wins until they're actually done.
Really.
What is losing going to do at this point?
I mean, I'm checked out, as I keep telling Kaz. I'm not rooting for wins or losses. I'm just watching the game to see schematically what the hell's going on with this team.
Schematically, they stink. You might as well root for wins. I can tell you
Well,
what's wrong schematically. They're
Yeah,
bad.
exactly. But I'm also like, oh, that's a sick play from Garrett. That was fun. Like Brees, that was a great run. That was fun. Olu pancaking dudes. That was fun. Will McDonald looks legit. That's fun. But yeah, as a team, I don't know if wins are really helping you right now.
But I don't think they hurt either. Like, it's not like there's an obvious quarterback. Like, the Jets, as bad as they've been, they're 8th right now in the draft. Look at how many bad teams are in front of them.
Oh, it's crazy how bad the NFL is this year.
Which makes this year hurt even more because the AFC is so mediocre. And if they were just competent, they'd have a chance to, at least at the bare minimum, maybe not win a Super Bowl, right? But break the playoff drought and get that monkey off your back. But that's not going to happen either.
So you don't think the season's over officially?
Well, I mean, it's over. I don't think they're
Okay.
going to do anything. But, like, until they're actually done, like, I'm still going to root for wins, you know?
Okay.
Like that
Yeah,
scenario you painted, they win 5 in a row, then they probably get crushed by Buffalo, and then that's where the dream dies. Like, I'll sign for that right now. I talk about this team twice a day, 5 days a week, and a post-game show that's 3.5 hours long every week. I'll take wins when I can get them. There's only 17 of these games a year.
Bless your heart, man. Bless your heart. Like I said, we're talking about the offseason, November 14th. That's what we've been talking
Brutal.
about.
We just spent an hour talking about coaching, quarterback future. It's November.
Is there any of the candidates we haven't even talked about that the Jets could actually legitimately hire?
I mean, I won't even mention Belichick. It's silly. It's not going to happen.
That will never happen.
I think we named all the top guys.
Right.
I like Spags as a wild card option. I think Spagnuolo has earned another opportunity. He's been around Andy Reid. He's a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. Maybe Spags second time.
Before.
Been in this market, can handle New York. You know, maybe that's an outside the box option.
If the Giants decide to move on from Brian Dable, would you go for him?
How about Vrabel as the as the head coach, and then Dable as the OC?
Now you're speaking my language.
Now we're cooking, baby.
Now we're cooking. Go draft Cam Ward. Trade up everything for Cam Ward,
Yep.
and then let him sit behind Rodgers for a year.
We just fixed the Jets. See,
we just fixed the Jets, right? You can pay us instead. Pay us the $10 million you're going to give to whatever GM you're going to bring in here. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, who's the GM they're going to bring in for this team?
Right.
I don't know many candidates. Like, I don't know any hot names out there. I watched a little bit of Connor Rogers and Trevor Sikkema on how they would fix the Jets, and they named some guys from the Lions, named some guys from the Chiefs. You know, again, you question, like, are these guys actually legit? Who's picking those players? Who's scouting them? Who's evaluating them? Yeah, man, it's just frustrating.
Hang in there, Ryan. I appreciate you hopping on, man. This is a lot of fun, despite the topics not being fun to discuss.
No, it's all good, dude. Listen, if you ever wanted to talk about these things with me, I love talking about these things just because we do love this team, and there's, like you said, there is potential there. But again, maybe you're right. Maybe there's so much talent on this team, and that the coaching is so bad. But also, I think there's some serious holes on this team that maybe haven't been highlighted enough. Like, the defensive line is brutal. Like, brutal. Like, Quinnen Williams has had an up and down year this year. He's had a couple of nice games. But besides Will McDonald, you have not gotten good production. And I know the Jermaine Johnson injury was a massive one that we probably didn't equate to how much that was going to impact them. But that, and then the combination of losing C.J. Mosley and making Sherwood, who is a nice player, but he's not a starting middle linebacker, let's be real. It's affecting Quincy, and it's affected what the defense is. And the Jets ignored the safety position again this offseason. Chuck Clark is not a good starting safety. Like, Tony Adams, bless his heart, he gives effort, but he's getting benched this week, from what I understand. Like, defensively, this team has been gutted, and that was what you were counting on the most. Maybe, like, for you, what's more frustrating? How the offense has played so far this year, or how the defense has played so far this year?
The defense, because if the offense was, you know, they were 32nd last year and they won 7 games. If the defense was anywhere close to what they've been, they're not 3-7 right now. I mean, letting Jacoby Brissett go down the field and stick it to you, that was one of the lowest I've ever felt as a fan of any of my teams. Maybe the lowest I've ever felt, besides like opening night last year with Rodgers going down, as far as the Jets go, or like that, because like that was just like stunning. And like, you, like, as bad as it's been, it's like, well, at least they'll beat New England and like give us some false hope. And that, for that to happen, I mean, that tells you all you need to know about this season.
Yeah, I mean, the Jacoby Brissett thing was, and Sauce giving up that third down long completion.
Brutal.
Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong with this team. And then, I don't know, man. It feels like if there was anyone else in charge, like instead of Joe Douglas, like if he was in charge of picking players in the draft, and you had another person in charge of like, hey, I'm gonna go get you an actual real backup quarterback last year. Hey, I'm gonna go get you a real kicker this year. You legitimately would probably have 2 playoff teams in a row right now. And if someone was in the room saying, hey, are we sure we want to trade John Franklin Myers? Like, this guy's really respected in the locker room, and we probably are undervaluing of what he does for this team defensively. And someone in the room that can say, listen, Robert might not be recognized, like he might not be registering with these guys on this team right now, and we might not be able to make the playoffs with a head coach like him. Should we be looking at other candidates this offseason? Meaning, I mean, I'm talking about after last season. Like, should we be looking at someone else to bring in as the new voice of this locker room? Just missed opportunities, man. And I know we overanalyze them, but that's truly what it's coming down to right now.
Same catastrophic mistake 2 years in a row, sitting on his rear end, not trying to solve the issue. And a year in which he knows he's getting fired if they don't win, and he still allowed Zerline to ruin the season. Crazy. Ryan, thanks for hopping on, man. Gangs All Here is the podcast. You get it wherever you get your podcast. It's Ryan Sampson and Brian Costello, longtime Jet beat reporter for the New York Post. Ryan, I'd say hopefully next time I talk to you, the Jets are at a better spot, but I have no idea, man. There's 7 games left. Who knows?
Jake, I appreciate you as always for letting me hop on here, doing some therapy sessions with you and talking Jets ball. I always enjoy talking Jets ball with you. And yeah, we'll see what happens where we're going forward from here, man.
Hang in there. The great Ryan Sampson with us there. We're presented today by Hugo House. You see the hat I'm wearing? Get the same one or any of their awesome hats. 15% off with promo code Asman at checkout. This is one of their new ones they just dropped a few weeks ago. So check it out if you want it. HUEGA house.com. Promo code Asman for 15% off. They have a special going. You buy one hat. Second hat is 30% off. All right, we got a bunch of people online right now. Comments, questions, your super chats. They always cut the line around here. Shout out to Chris J, though. He gifted a channel membership earlier in the show. Chris, your membership went to Dre. So, Dre, you're a member, baby. Congratulations. If you want a membership, turn on gift receipts, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. And if someone makes it rain, you got a chance. Cactus Johnny writes in, Favre was better for us than Rodgers has been. Well, Favre was 8-3, and then he got hurt, and the team fell apart. So, yes. Peter Castro writes in, Monken and Martindale. Well, Martindale, I don't know if he'd come with Monken. Wink right now is coaching college. Would he come back to be an NFL DC? I don't know. I don't know what his relationship is like with Monken. Big fella, super chat. You know Joe Douglas will have Zerline kick again this year. I'm sure at some point we'll see it. Why not? If we're trying to tank, have Zerline kick the last few games. Fine. Angel writes in, Tomlin won 10 games with 3 quarterbacks last year. Jets 7. I mean, yes, but Angel, but Mike Tomlin's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, yeah, congrats. Tomlin's better than Saleh. I think we all knew this. I want to hire Stefanski, right? He won a bunch of games with several quarterbacks last year. Now, he got 5 wins out of his starter before they had to go on the quarterback carousel. Saleh got 0 from his starter. He got 4 plays. But, I think Stefanski's a good coach. The one thing I will say that Ryan said that I slightly disagree with, I think Sherwood can be a starter in this league. I know Andrew Fialko's high on Sherwood on the film review. He's actually watching. I just think they had an awful game on Sunday. Sherwood was not good, but I've seen enough from Sherwood this year where I think he's a part of the future. I'd look to bring him back. Ladies and gentlemen, Nate has come through with 5 channel memberships for the people. Holy Nate. I think that drop was fitting because Nate today spent hours upon hours fighting with Gary over whether or not a salad kills you. That was the conversation on the Bobby Midnight program today. 5 members here. Jashawn, Jersey Playa, DMF, Catacomb Man, Abe Lattori, all receiving a channel membership. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get to your calls. First up on the Gusbuster hotline is Nate, parentheses Nate. Hello, Nate.
Cheers, Jake.
Cheers, Nate.
Yeah, on top of that, gifting 5 memberships, it's a PSA because I know you won't say it. Also, the Bobby Midnight Show here, so make sure you subscribe. But a lot of people are obviously not going to watch Jets content anymore, not consuming it. Some of us sickos are still consuming it, and Jake still gives us 4 or 5 hours a day. So if you can find a way to because this show won't keep going if the show won't keep going, if you know what I'm saying. So
we're going, Nate. Don't worry. Don't worry.
The 5 hours a day is still always here, no matter if we're having the most disappointing, ruthless season of our fucking lives. We're in hell. But
don't worry, Nate.
Support the people that are always there for the content. So
that's very nice of you. But don't worry, the show is not shutting down because the Jets stink.
No, I'm teasing. I know it's not shutting down. I just mean to the people that are that loyal to be here while we're struggling. Help a brother out.
I will tell you, the views are going down though. So if you guys could like and subscribe and join the Patreon, that will help.
Do all that extra stuff to us sicko passionate people like me that'll be at every game next year, like last year.
Hey, you renewed your season tickets today. You were telling me.
Well, you know why I did that, Jake? And they sent out a survey. And then I realized when they asked me this question, how satisfied are you with each element? And they said, how satisfied are you with the prestige of being a season ticket holder? And that's when I realized, well, I am more prestigious in my whole life because I'm a Jet season ticket holder. I walk around with a different strut and I get to mock everyone in chat because I am a Jet season ticket holder. So it's that prestige is why I want to lock back in for next year with the gangrene. Oh, man. That was sickening to read some of those questions, and it was the fact that they didn't remove some of them about how do you think the team is performing this year, graded on 1 to 10. I would love to be reading and some of those comments, and they asked for comments below.
Would you put for your grade 1?
It was mostly 1s across the board.
Yeah.
It was straight literally 1s across the board. Now I know it wasn't a flex, by the way. I was teasing. Yeah, it's tough. Rodgers next year. We have to treat he's going to be our quarterback, right? We both agree. You explain the cap hits, and he just doesn't want to go out like this. We have to treat him like he's Mark Sanchez, though. This isn't we were all really hyped about having Aaron Rodgers on this quarterback that could throw for 4,000 yards and was MVP. And we only need him to play a little than that. At this point, we need a football team again. And we need a team that's built to win. We need a team that can win in the trenches. We need a team that has an identity. When was the last time we had an identity, Jake? We've never had an identity with Robert Saleh. We couldn't run the ball. We never got turnovers. We turned the ball over. We played from 3rd and long. Everything was what you do in non-football games. I want to play from 3rd and short. I want less penalties next year. Like I said, I want a team that can win at the line of scrimmage. Start with the basics. Go back to the basics. I want a team that can tackle. It's crazy I'm saying this, but I told you this earlier on the Legend of Bobby Midnight Show when you helped co-host for a bit. This team reminds me of the Mets from 2 years ago when we got Scherzer and Verlander, and there was a lot of hype, and everyone was like, their age and this and that and the other. And then they got Stearns in, they got a new GM who knew what he was doing, and maybe we'll get a great GM that knows that can identify great football talent, in 3rd, 4th, 5th round or free agents that are viable, that don't cost every dollar out of our pocket. Maybe we're that 2024 Mets that we just get good football players. It's not Tyron Smith, it's not all these big names that we're hoping the Scherzers and Verlanders. We just get guys that can hit singles and doubles, guys that can get off the ball, guys like I said, guys that can win at the line of scrimmage. And what if we can just be that team? And I feel obviously if you had to bet, we're going to be better next year, right? If we have Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, it's almost like we could literally put Allen and Gary as GM head coach and we'll be better. We can't be worse. And there's something to it. When a team has nothing to play for. I don't know if you remember, I'll draw more parallels to the Mets season when that guy threw his glove over the stands and said we're the worst team in the league. Everyone laughs at us, and then they had that team meeting yeah, we're the worst team in the league. Let's just go out, have fun, and prove to everyone that we can play ball. And so I feel it'll be a little bit easier with less pressure on everyone, and no one will be talking about AFC division, AFC anything. It'll just we'll be the joke that we always are. And it'll be kind of fun to come in from that side again. And like I said, I think they're just going to play better. I think they're just going to play better. But
yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, but once again, to use your example with the Mets, it just shows you how quickly you could turn it around. The Mets had talent that grossly underperformed in that 2023 season. That's happening here with the 2024 Jets. If you get better coaching that could maximize the talent, this is a better team next year. I'm not telling you they're going to win a Super Bowl, but the AFC is not great. They can compete for a playoff spot as early as next year. And they still should also be drafting a quarterback because Aaron, if he's here next year, he's going to be 42 at the end of next season. So you need a quarterback.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Hopefully we get a team like I keep comparing it to the Mets that can just play football, come off the ball better, and tackle better, do all those basics, and then let's see what happens. Let's see if with Rodgers and these guys can figure it out. And he could be our Mark Sanchez. He's not going to be our savior, obviously. That's just not going to happen next year. And last PSA, support Jake. Bobby's at 126. He needs 500 to get monetized again. He got screwed over. If you're in the chat, hit the button. We could all get him there right now. Jake, thank you for the time as always, sir.
Nate, great call by you. And a final question for you. Salad, when you eat it, is it trying to kill you? Yes or no?
I had one today. So I'll get back to you in a couple hours. But I'm feeling okay. I'm still pumping. There was chicken in there. But yeah, that. Please, I really had enough of that today. That was wild.
Nate, all the love. Incredible Gary versus Nate argument earlier. Unreal. I believe at one point Gary said it's better to smoke a cigarette than to have a salad. That actually happened. More of your calls right now. This guy was involved in the great Gary salad debate earlier. Ricky NY joins the show. Hello, Ricky.
Hey, how you doing, Jake? You know what? I don't think that the problem has been with the free agents that we brought in here. It's when we brought them in. It seems like we get all these guys when they're past their prime, and no one could have foreseen Tyron Smith dropping off the way that he did. But I mean, I think a lot of the problems that are going on right now revolve around that offensive line, whether it's protecting Rodgers or and especially how we're running the ball right now. Olu didn't look bad. I would be perfect. And that being said, I would like to agree with you. Like, this quarterback class that's coming out is very
no,
very uninspiring. And
oh no, it's the Ricky Wi-Fi, folks. You knew it was coming. You just didn't know when. Ricky, you make a good point. I don't love this quarterback class, but I'm also not going to sit here and act like, hey, maybe if a guy sat, he wouldn't be better off. That's maybe the caveat. Okay, these guys aren't ready to play right away. Great. Learn from a Hall of Famer for a year. Then you play. Chad Pennington sat behind Vinny Testaverde. He wasn't a Hall of Famer, but he was good. Taught Pennington how to be a pro. Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith. Rodgers sat behind Favre. Lamar sat behind Flacco for most of that year. I think there's something to it. I think in some scenarios, yeah, you could have a Jaden Daniels this year. He's great right away. Or CJ Stroud. But I think in these markets, it's different. I think New York is different than other places. Like, being the quarterback of the Jets as a top draft pick is not easy. It's probably harder here than in most other franchises. First round draft pick of the Jets at quarterback. That is so hard to do here. Sit for a year. Thought this, like, I worked in Houston. I was the media in Houston. I did afternoon drive on ESPN Houston I lived down there for 6 years. You can't even compare the media markets. The pressure Stroud faced starting right away versus what Zach Wilson faced or Sam Darnold or Sanchez. Not even close. Can't even compare the situations. This market eats you alive. This fan base is starving. The first, if they start a rookie next year, the first 3 and out, this guy sucks. We drafted another bust. This fan base has no patience. I can't blame any Jet fan for not being patient. I mean, we know what the history is of the team. We're still here. But I just think you got to put the quarterback in the best possible position to succeed. And I'd argue him not playing year one or most of year one, because if Rodgers, let's say, is the quarterback next year and they're out of it, yeah, play the quarterback down the stretch, the rookie. I just think it's hard to play quarterback in this city. Even like the same old Jets culture is engulfing Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have answers right now. He can't believe what's happening. I'm not saying he's been great, but like some of these things that have happened to this team this year, like you can't believe. Like the Jets becoming the first team ever to lose that kind of game against New England where they don't have a turnover. They hold New England to under, I think it was 250 yards. They score at least 25 points. No team has ever lost a game in NFL history besides the Jets with those stats. It's hard to play here. Don't play a rookie right away. I wouldn't do it. Kyle Clifton, Zach. What's up, Kyle?
I think the Chicken and Pizza song might need a new verse.
God, were you watching the Bobby Midnight Show today?
I didn't see it, but I've seen some of the stuff that he's been putting out there about salad, and it's interesting.
Yeah, on my date last night, Kyle, I had some Caesar salad, and the salad tried to tackle me. It was
about something like a salad. It is trying to kill you. Hilarious.
I like
it. Two things I want to disagree with. John Gruden, not a chance. Like the content of those emails, I don't think he's getting a sniff of this league again. I think that there are too many teams that are fearful that he would be poisoned for a locker room. So I don't see it happening.
I don't know. Players love him though, man. Even to this day, his players still love him.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes is one malcontent, and like that's a lot of fodder for
the worst he said though was about Goodell, who I don't get the sense is well liked by players either. Oh, by the way, like he called him a gay slur and the P word. Like obviously not acceptable, but these are also private emails that got leaked 15 years after they were sent.
Wasn't there some jokes or something about African American players? I thought there was.
No, I thought what he said was bad about DeMaurice Smith, right? He made fun of DeMaurice Smith's lip size. I guess DeMaurice Smith was what the Players Association had at the time.
Yeah, I mean,
it was like during the lockout. Yeah,
it's not great.
It was the NFL. Look, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying, like, people do make mistakes. It was 15 years ago. The emails never should have been leaked anyway. And like, I think some teams are going to interview him for head coaching openings.
Right. The second thing is, I love the idea of drafting a quarterback. I don't know if it needs to be in the first round. Just echoing what Ricky was saying about the quality of this class. If the quality of the guy and you feel strong about him in the top 15, say, yeah, by all means, take him. But if you don't force it. Like you can wait till the second or third round guy and take a guy and have him compete for a spot with Tyrod and with Travis, and look to get like a first rounder the following year when it might be a little deeper. We have a lot of work to do on that defensive line, and this is a great defensive line class coming out. So, if we have a pick in the top 10, say it's 9 or 10, and we have a chance to get a guy who's going to help us there right away, I would be all for taking a guy there.
Look, I think it depends how the board breaks, but there's also the scenario they like someone, they trade up and go get that guy. Like, the Chiefs did that with Mahomes, and then he sat. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your patience as I was wrestling with my daughter in the background.
Great call, Kyle. Appreciate you as always. Good idea with the song. How about this comment here? 25 says, Nate is becoming my Allen, liking him more and more. To which then Nate wrote, 25 STFU, you're no Rick Kent. How about that? 25 trying to get on the good graces of Nate, and Nate saying, nah. Pierre says, Jake, you need a show on ESPN with this live chat format so ownership can see and feel the pulse of the Jets every day. I'm on ESPN New York on Sunday. I'll be on 4 to 6:30 right after the Jet game. You couldn't do this format on radio, though. What the chat is on radio is someone tweeting me or a text line, which we don't have on ESPN New York. People calling in on this show is what a sports radio call is. The whole premise of this show that you guys are watching now that I've been doing for 4 seasons is that I've always been a radio guy. And I'm like, well, no one's doing a radio style show about the Jets on YouTube. I'll do it. And that's where the idea was born. Everyone else was doing like pre-tape videos when I first started getting into Jet content on YouTube. I'm like, well, what if we did a live show every day? There used to be only one show a day because I had a full-time radio gig in Houston. I was the afternoon host, so I did a show in the morning typically. But I appreciate the support, Pierre. People like you are why the show exists. Let's say hello to Rob, the Jet fan. He's next. Hello, Rob.
Hey, Jake. Just absorbing, listening to people's opinions and what's going on here. Obviously, I'm for Vrabel. He's my number one choice. You and I definitely have that in common. I wouldn't mind a guy like Dable if he got fired as offensive coordinator, or if Todd Monken didn't get hired as an offensive coordinator and he was willing to also come to the staff with Vrabel. I would also take that. I think that would be cool. I think having maybe a consultant like a Pete Carroll could help us, Jake, bring back good players onto the team. He's a wise man. He won a Super Bowl. He was previously with the Jets. He's 73 years old. I don't think he's looking for a head coaching position anymore. I think now for him, it's just like a consultant role. It's probably something that he would go for. What do you think of that first? And then I have a couple other points, please.
I like Pete Carroll for sure. If you want to talk to him, I don't know what role it would be, but I'm definitely open to talking to him. As far as, Monken, he's not leaving an OC position with the Ravens to come here to the Jets in the same move. He's only coming here if he's the head coach.
Okay. Fair enough on that.
Why would he leave Lamar Jackson to come here when you don't know who the quarterback is?
No, you're right. I mean, sometimes money talks and you offer a few dollars more. Is I guess what I mean. But you know what, Jake?
I mean, how much? Right. I mean, if you pay him $10 million a year to be an OC, maybe that's never going to happen. Like he's only leaving Baltimore, which is an amazing situation for him with an MVP of the league for a head coaching opportunity. I would hire him as the head coach. Maybe he might be the best guy for the job.
I would too. I mean, if we got him as a head coach, I would be good with that. I'd be good with the Stefanski too, the guy you said from Cleveland. I would be fine with that too. But you know what, Jake? The people who are pushing back on Mike Vrabel, here's what I say. Guy was AP Coach of the Year 2021. It's not that far removed. We were removed 3-4 years ago, okay? The problem I have with Gruden was a long time ago, okay? Definitely against Rex Ryan. I don't want to see Rex Ryan again. Rex Ryan's over 10 years. So people got to stop with that Rex Ryan nonsense. I don't want to see Rex Ryan, to be honest with you. I trust a guy like Vrabel to pick an offensive coordinator. I mean, the guy picked Arthur Smith. Say whatever Bang wants to say about Arthur Smith, but Arthur Smith is a real good offensive coordinator. Look where he has the Steelers this year. The Steelers, points-wise, are averaging 23.9 points a game. They're 12th in the league. He's not a bad offensive coordinator. So
he's hired two guys that have become head coaches. So that gives me confidence that despite him being a defensive backgrounded guy, he knows how to hire competent coaching. And I think those teams run the offense he wants them to run too. Like I think he would look at this roster and be like, oh, we have Breece Hall and we have Braylon Allen. Well, look what I did with Derrick Henry and when I was in Tennessee. We're going to build an offense around Breece and Braylon Allen. We're going to run the crap out of the ball, and we're not going to ask if it's Rodgers or whoever to have to do a ton. We're going to rely on our running game and defense, and Vrabel's had success doing that.
Yeah. Obviously, his linear of tree and people falling here with LaFleur and stuff is not too bad, right? And the year that Vrabel won Coach of the Year 2021, most of the year, Jake, they didn't even have Derrick Henry. He was hurt.
Yep.
90% out of that whole year, and he still won Coach of the Year. So any guy who takes a team with Tannehill, let's be honest, Tannehill's no great quarterback. Come on. He's not. And he took that team, and they beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. Went 12-5 and with the number one seed. That's overachieving, in my opinion. Because
those are two separate years he did that, too, by the way.
Two separate years. You're right.
They were the one seed one year in the playoffs, and they got beat by Burrow the year they went to the Super Bowl. And then they beat New England in the wild card round in Brady's last game as a Patriot. Right. And then beat Lamar in Baltimore that year and got to the AFC Championship game and played Kansas City Titans. He's a really good coach. He'd be my number one choice. The question is, does he want the Jet job? How many other options is he going to have? And if he's between the Jets and someone else, like I don't know how close he is with Belichick. Belichick would tell him not to take the job, but I could tell you that, he wasn't a Belichick disciple as a coach. He only played for him. He was under Bill O'Brien as a DC when I was in Houston. So we'll see.
I don't agree, Jake. I don't agree with our job not being attractive. People got to stop that nonsense. Oh, nobody's going to come here and stuff. Shut up. That's not true. That's not true. Why is this job so unappealing? Look at all the other jobs that can possibly be ready.
Allen alert, fraud alert, curmudgeon alert, Allen alert. Nobody likes this shitbag.
Alan, I think you're nuts. This job is not an unattractive job, like you say. Or what
I think it is.
Going to New Orleans would be an attractive job, or Jacksonville.
Right now, I think this is the fourth most attractive job. I think Jacksonville is the more attractive. Say it again.
Out of how many teams, fourth attractive? You're saying?
I would say 7 teams. I think the Cleveland. First of all, I don't think Stefanski gets fired. I think our job is more. I think our job is more attractive than the Giant job. I think our job is more attractive than the Saints job. I think the Jacksonville job is more attractive than our job because of the quarterback.
Okay,
I think the Bears job. I think the Bears job is more attractive to our job.
Yeah, but hold up a second, Alan. But now I'm going to push back on that because you're the one who said who's going to the Bears. You said Ben Johnson's going to the Bears.
I think he's going there, yeah.
All right, so take them out of the mix. Why wouldn't Vrabel have a shot to come to the Jets?
I never said he didn't have a shot to come, but you said you just called my name out. I said
I don't think they're so unattractive to come to the Jets.
I think the Cowboy job is more attractive than our job.
Okay, but hold up a second, Alan.
That's four.
Okay, but hold up a second, Alan. But let me ask you a question. If you're coming to the Jets, is it a total rebuild or a retool? Let's be honest here.
I really worry about the quarterback. I do. He's going to be 41. He's going to be 41, going on 42.
Okay.
He's not the same player.
Bring him in.
He doesn't have the same mobility.
Hold up a second, Alan. Bring him in one more year because he's going to coach. He's going to play another year. Let's be honest here. Yeah, he's not going to walk away from that money. Have him come in 1 year, like Jake said. Let's draft the guy in the first round. I know I don't love the quarterbacks coming out in this crop.
I'm not reaching for a quarterback if we have the 8th, 9th pick. I'm not. I would rather wait to round 2 or 3.
So who would you go with? A D lineman?
I would, if I had a choice. If Mason Graham was there, I would take him in 9. I think Will Johnson will go top 5. I would take a defensive lineman.
Okay. What about in the second round? Couldn't there be a quarterback? What about that guy?
Yeah, I think there are a bunch.
What about Jackson Dart? What about Jackson Dart?
I think Dart can go in the second round. I think Beck can go in the second round.
Okay, so
I think Howard.
I wanted fireworks. They're like, yeah, this is now GM Allen evaluating the draft class. No one wants to hear that. I wanted Rob to go at Allen and vice versa. All right. I need Allen's prognostication of the draft. That's not till late April. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for fireworks, baby. Come on. Or moronic takes from Gary.
Plants are trying to kill me, so I think I'll eat a stick of butter.
That's what I'm here for, man. Come on. More of your calls right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give Allen a chance to make his actual point because he didn't call in to go out Rob. I'll be fair. Ladies and gentlemen, Allen.
Warning, warning, Allen alert. Shit's about to get ugly, folks. Warning, Allen alert. Hide the children.
Few points.
Hello, Allen.
First of all, I hope there's going to be a second date. That's the first point.
Oh, well, there's another one tonight, but different person. So we're
Look at
living
you.
the life. I'm having salad, man. It's all about the salad.
Now you're acting like a kid who lives in New York City. You're supposed to date 3-4 times in this city.
Here's the dirty little secret, right? I've been living. All right. That's all I'm going to say.
Good. I was the same way 20 years ago. I understand.
I know, man. Saying. Well, you dated, what's her name again? The
but that
actress?
Was 32 years ago. Jesus Christ.
I know. Look at you.
Okay. And yeah, a couple of comments. First of all, I was reading an article grouping GMs and coaches for teams that are expected to have changes. And I saw Vrabel to the Jets, and the name for GM shocked me, and that was Catherine Hickman.
Yeah, the Browns assistant GM. Yeah.
Could you imagine what this fan base would do if we hire a 35-year-old woman to be our GM? It would be shocking. I saw her resume. She's a former lawyer from Canada. I know she worked in the CFL for a few years. She worked with the Eagles for a couple of years and is now the assistant GM for the Browns. Man, that would be a name. Maybe they need to go completely out of the box to hire somebody like that. I'd be shocked. I'm
You're the
curious
guy
what
who
this
put that
fan
out there is full of crap always. He's just
I know, but I did read another article. I saw the one you were talking about. I actually did read an article about Catherine Hickman. Again, she was a finalist for the Viking job in 2022.
She might be qualified. I'm just saying, like, I'm not putting any stock into her as a GM candidate for the Jets because some guy on Twitter was like, oh, they'll hire Vrabel with Hickman coming over.
It would be interesting. As far as the quarterback is concerned, I agree with Kyle Clifton. To me, I'm not reaching for a quarterback, and I wouldn't even trade up for a quarterback in the top of the first round. I just recently saw Dane Brugler's top 50 overall, and he had 4 quarterbacks, but they were going 16, 22, 23, and 30. So if the Jets finish 8th, 9th overall, I wouldn't take any of them. He had Ward at 16, he had Milrow at 22, he had Sanders at 23, and he had Nussmeier at 30. To me, it's such a poor quarterback class. I do not want to reach for any of these guys. I really don't. I'd rather wait.
It's also November, though, Alan. J.J. McCarthy, where was he in Dane's big board a year ago at this time?
You know what? I think J.J. McCarthy was a reach. I do. I think
I'm just telling you, Michael Penix wasn't thought to be a top 10 pick, and he went 8th last year. It changes all the time.
Penix was supposed to go mid to late first round.
He wasn't a top 10 guy. No, Baker Mayfield ends up going 1-1 that year. I remember he was a 3rd round pick. Zach Wilson, we didn't even know who he was when they went 2nd overall.
I do not like this class. I'd rather fill another need, whether it's a defensive lineman or maybe go for
who's the quarterback next year is my thing. Because I like if the Jets don't like the class either, whoever the new GM is, like I agree, you don't just take a quarterback to take a quarterback, but I'm operating under the premise that there'll be someone they have a 1st round grade on that they could take. Say they don't. Who is the quarterback next year? What's the quarterback situation?
Again, I hope A-Rod's gone. Just for my opinion, I don't think Sam comes back here. I agree with you. I doubt he does. I mean, it's just going to be a bridge, in my opinion.
So who's playing quarterback? Andy Dalton, Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah. It's scary to say this, and I don't usually agree with our favorite salad boy, but I would not be surprised if he would be in the mix.
Jameis Winston, do you think will be the quarterback?
I would not. It would kill me to say it. I would. You see,
why not just bring Rodgers back then?
I just don't see there's anything.
But that's my point. When I look at all the other, it's not. I'm not saying you're telling you Rodgers has been great. He hasn't. But with better coaching, he's the best option you have on any of the options that are out there. The options are not good.
Maybe if you bring in some of these Lions guys, you maybe trade for a Hendon Hooker, give him an opportunity.
I'm not starting Hendon Hooker. Get out of here.
Or maybe you trade for a Penix if Atlanta wants to keep Cousins for a couple of years.
They took him 8th overall. They're not trading you Michael Penix.
I don't know if they're going to keep him on the bench for 3 years.
You want Justin Fields to be the quarterback? I guess he's an option.
I do not want Justin Fields. Again, they're in a bind. They're in a bind.
So Aaron's their best chance. He could mentor the guy they're going to draft.
2 years old next year.
I understand. I understand he's old. We all see what's happening here, but he's still statistically giving you the best year a Jet quarterback's had since 2015, as sad as that is.
You see, I worry that a top GM does not want to deal with his mess. I just do. I think
a top GM will love the fact, hey, I could try and win this year, and I don't have to play my rookie quarterback right away.
You know what? I worry that a top GM will not want to deal with the Aaron Rodgers drama. That's just my opinion. I worry about Rodgers. I just don't think there's a lot of mobility left I really have seen him slip over the last couple of weeks. He's
You're
not
arguing
making
for
the big
Hendon
throws.
Hooker as an option.
I'm
Come on.
arguing for somebody. I don't know about Hendon Hooker. You don't know about Hendon Hooker. That's the question. I don't know. I don't know what to do. And again, if you're talking about a top GM coming here, I don't think a top GM is going to want to deal with Aaron Rodgers. That's
I
the
think
question.
you let a top GM decide what their plan is. That's what you do. You say you make the decision on Rodgers. If you want to get rid of him, we'll get rid of him. But like if I were a prospective GM, I think the fact the roster's pretty talented and I can pick my quarterback and not have to play him right away, and that guy could sit and learn from a Hall of Famer is not the worst scenario to be inheriting. You're not expected to win right away. If it doesn't work, then you get to play a rookie. You get even more time to build the team around the rookie. Like you have a long leeway. The previous GM got 6 years of his full contract. Like so it's actually a decent situation.
One final question. At 41 going on 42, where would you rank Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback in the league?
I don't know. I got to see how the next 7 games go because that's also. I think right now he's been anywhere at times. He's been like 18 to 24 as far as the quarterbacks this year, and
would he be so much better? I mean, I'm not a big fan of his either. Would he be so much better than Garner Minshew? I'm just wondering. I don't know.
I think he's better than Minshew personally.
Okay. It's close because I worry about Rodgers.
He might be the Jet quarterback next year, though, if you move on from Rodgers. So get ready. You're going to get Gardner.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
grow your
Jake,
mustache,
always a
Alan.
pleasure.
Yes,
Yeah.
Alan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Enjoy a salad tonight in Gary's honor.
Plants are trying to kill me, so I think I'll eat a stick of butter.
More of your calls right now. Actually, super chat. Big fella. If we can't get Gruden, Munkin, Coach Kokinis, GM. Oh, you want Munkin, Coach, and Kokinis, GM? What's Kokinis' full name? Munkin, I'm intrigued by. They should interview him. Offensive guy, older guy, too. He's not old, but he's not like, a wonder boy. 35 years old, first-time coach. He's 58, seasoned, won in college, won at the NFL level. Lamar Jackson has never been this good as a passer until Munkin got there. Apparently, leadership off the charts. I'm intrigued. Connor Long with a super chat. Connor spending his allowance money on the show. Connor, stop it. Stop spending money on super chats. All right, we will read your comments free of charge. I promise. Tyrod will resign and start Agnew GM, Munkin or Vrabel head coach. Curious to see who they draft. Too early to assume. I mean, if this team starts Tyrod, then he's playing 6 games max because he's going to get hurt. So who's the backup to Tyrod? It's a rookie? It's going to be one of those years where they play 4 quarterbacks next year if Tyrod goes in starting. You start Tyrod, Nate is right. The stadium's going to be empty until you start playing the rookie. All these people who don't want Rodgers back, you have no solution for what they should do instead. Hendon Hooker was suggested. Like, give me a break, man. I'm not telling you Aaron Rodgers has been great. He obviously has not. But, like, we're a game removed from, like, one of the great halves a Jet quarterback has ever had. Like, he still can give you a little bit. And with better coaching, who knows? You know what? Better coaching, a better kicker this year. They're not 3-7. All right? Are they a Super Bowl team? No, but we know they're not going to be a Super Bowl team next year either. That's why they got to draft a quarterback and put themselves in position to eventually contend. And the only way to do that is you develop that guy. And what's the best path to developing that guy? I think it's sitting behind a Hall of Famer for a year. Now, look, these next 7 games will tell us a lot. If Rodgers is completely shot, my answer will be different. Maybe Hendon Hooker would be better than Gary or Allen. I don't know. But, yeah, and then Allen's talking about, the drama that comes. Really, what has been the drama with Rodgers? He's not good right now. That's been the drama. The team's not good. What drama has come with Rodgers this year? The Mike Williams stuff on the red line? Is that the worst that's happened this year? We go back to June. He skipped 2 days of mandatory minicamp, and that was blown way out of proportion as if it actually mattered. It mattered so much. The team started 2-1 this year, then collapsed. I don't know. All right. We got plenty of people still on hold. I don't know if I'll be able to get to everyone because I got somewhere to be, but I'm going to try and get to as many as we can. The Hamburger's next. What's up, Hamburger?
What's up, Jake? I don't know, man. Alan, you're out of your mind, bro. I don't know. You guys want this team to transition next year, and that's the only way to do it is without him. You can't. There's nobody else out there that's going to come in and save us. If you're going to draft somebody, whether it's in the first round, whether it's in the third round, fourth round, you want him to be behind a solid veteran QB, somebody that's going to play every day. Listen, Aaron has not been perfect this year. Aaron's also getting his ass kicked. He's also got terrible coaching, and we've seen bits and pieces of him when he's healthy and when he has some blocking, him beat Aaron Rodgers. I mean, so you get a coach in here that changes the culture of this team. This team starts winning, and they start blocking for Aaron. I'm sure he's not going to be the 30th worst quarterback in the league. I think he's still top 15.
That's probably what happened. If you remember, that's kind of what happened with Parcells with Vinny in 98, right? I mean, they were 0-2. They made the change. Like, Vinny was thought to be done too. And it was like, Vinny Testaverde, he's going to play. And then, yeah, he still had a lot left.
Yeah, all of a sudden he had a lot left. Listen, man, it's nuts. To throw Aaron away, I don't think it's worth it. He's going to be back next year. As long as he wants to play and his team doesn't absolutely collapse and he wants to get the hell out of here, he's going to be back. Any GM will take that as a transition year, even if they get the job. Because Woody's going to tell him, listen, Aaron's going to be here this year. We're going to finish out the contract. After that, it's yours. So
well, the GM is also, to your point, Hamburger, the GM is also going to look at the alternatives. It's like, okay, what veterans are out there? Because
exactly.
Like, depending on where they end up picking, there's no guarantee they're in position to draft a quarterback. So then who's the quarterback? That's my question to everyone. Is it Jordan Travis and a rookie? Like, then you're tanking next year with a team that you shouldn't be tanking with. You could compete next year.
Exactly. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. One thing I want to, I promised in the chat to everybody. I know you guys all see the karaoke sign up in the back. Like I said, if the Jets win this week, I'm putting it on record now. If the Jets win on Sunday, I will sing a Pearl Jam song live, since everybody thinks I'm Eddie Vedder. So I will show you my singing talents. All right.
Hell yeah.
But also, I'm going to be at the game Sunday. I'm going to be with my wife and my kids, and one of my older sons are going to come by. So either I'll be at G2, or if everybody's going to be at L5, I'll be out in the area. And please come by, say hello, introduce yourself, and meet the family and everything. So I love positive vibes. I want to have a good time on Sunday and show the kids how fun it can be if we win.
I love it.
You know, it could be being a Jets fan. So, but listen, you guys have a great night. I'm going to go upstairs and eat my tortellini soup that my wife has made. Enjoy your evening.
Hamburger, I appreciate you. Enjoy some salad with that too, perhaps. All right. Let's say hello to JJ. Uh-oh. Hello, JJ.
Listen, man, I don't understand why you're saying there's no options other than Aaron Rodgers. There's so many other options. And
I'm saying there's not better options necessarily.
Well, he's washed. Let's just call a spade a spade. And I actually thought it was funny.
Is he better than Andy Dalton?
Okay, so let me hold on, because we could go down the list of all the people he's better than, and then we could go down the list of all the people he's not better than. But I do want to make this point. I thought it was funny that Mike Williams put the red line thing, because back-to-back weeks, Aaron Rodgers threw bad passes that led to interceptions, and he tried to blame other people. But if you pull up that red line play, I think it might have been Tyler Conklin or whoever the tight end was. They were wide open, right? And if my biggest problem with that play was, if Mike Williams ran the wrong route, why would you throw it to him? If you had other people on the field that were wide open and it wasn't a fourth down.
They weren't open.
Pull up
on the red line play? On the red line play. No, we did this with Fialco. On the red line play, he's like the way Aaron explained it and the way Orlovsky then did the breakdown was that he was already throwing to that spot. And then as he saw Williams wasn't in the right spot, he tried to throw it to where he thought he was going to be. But at that point, Williams slipped and it led to the interception. I played the Orlovsky thing so many times. Who cares? It doesn't even matter.
I know that Dan Orlovsky and Fialco, all these guys are great football minds. So little old JJ has no clue what he's talking about. But if you pull up that play, I guarantee you, if you look at the tight end, I think it was either Tyler Conklin or might have been Jeremy Ruckert. They were wide open on an out, and he could have easily thrown it to them and kept the play alive, kept us going. But he threw a bad ball to someone who wasn't in the right spot. I kind of blame him more than I blame Mike Williams, and I like that Mike Williams catches a game-winning touchdown in Pittsburgh, and he says #redline, because at the end of the day, when you're dealing with a guy named Mike Williams, you throw the ball up in the air and you let him Go get it. You throw him a 50-50 ball, and the odds
He
are
ran
he comes
the
down.
wrong route, though. That doesn't
So
mean
then
that.
don't throw it to him. But I want to move on. I'm sorry. I don't want to argue about that. All I'm saying is he shouldn't
What
have
do you
thrown it.
want to
if he
argue
ran.
about today, JJ? What do you want to argue about?
Before Geno Smith went to Seattle, right? Geno Smith didn't have the upside that Jameis Winston had, right? But Geno Smith goes over to Seattle. He gets around some good coaches. He gets around some good players, and he turns his career around. You got a guy like Jameis Winston out there with the right coach, right? And I know you're going to say Sean Payton, he was with Sean Payton, but that even Russell Wilson looked dead when he was with Sean Payton. So I believe Sean Payton is a really good coach, but at the same time, you put Jameis Winston with a guy like Ben Johnson, I think he could revitalize his career. So it really all depends on who we hire at coach first. If you tell me you want Shedeur Sanders, yeah, I would like Shedeur Sanders with Deion Sanders as the head coach. I know some people are going to be like, oh, he's never coached in the NFL. So what? We see college guys come over and do halfway decent in the NFL all the time. And then we see defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators who've coached in the NFL their whole careers take over as head coaches and look like how Adam Gase looked. So it doesn't really, to me, that's not a deal breaker. We can take a guy like Deion Sanders with Shedeur Sanders. We can take a guy like Ben Johnson to come in and be the head coach, and then we don't need to draft somebody. We've seen what Ben Johnson was able to do with Jared Goff. Sean McVay got rid of Jared Goff, and we thought Jared Goff was going to die in Detroit, and look at him now. Looks like one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and even the day that he threw 5 interceptions, he was still able to get a win, right? So it's all about who we hire at coach. Mike Vrabel. A lot of people thought Ryan Tannehill was done. Mike Vrabel was able to take Ryan Tannehill to the AFC Championship. So it's really about, I mean, yes, eventually Ryan Tannehill fell off a cliff and he was no longer successful. But I'm just saying there's a lot of backups out there. There's a lot of quarterbacks that look like they're left for dead, can, in the right situation, get us to the playoffs. That's all we need is to get us to the playoffs. And I think that
so you want Jameis Winston at quarterback next year?
It depends on who our coach is. If you told me Ben Johnson's the head coach and we have Jameis Winston, sign me up for that.
You're not getting Ben Johnson.
But you can't. But let's not have that mindset as Jets fans that we're not getting this person, we're not getting that person. Because
let's be
at realistic
the end of the day, as Jet fans.
What team? Because you guys tell me our team is so talented. What team out there that needs a head coach has such a talented team that Ben Johnson is going to be like, yeah, I'm going there instead of the Jets. And at the end of the day, there's only 32 NFL teams in the league, right? So 32 jobs. Only 6 of them are going to be open next year. So if he don't come to us, it's not like he has all these other options. We're going to get a good coach. Right? I believe we're going to get a good coach, whether it's Mike Vrabel, whether it's Ben Johnson, whoever it is, whether it's Deion Sanders, we're going to get a good coach. There's going to be somebody who wants an NFL job who's going to come to the Jets. So
where
depending
are you
on
getting Deion from, as if this is like this great option. He's never coached in the NFL before. He's coached 2 years at college, at highest Division I level.
Robert Saleh never coached. Robert Saleh coached in the NFL for years, and he was with the San Francisco, and he came here and he sucked. So Deion never coaching in the NFL before is not a deal breaker for me. He's a good coach. We see that in Colorado. He was a hell of a player. He's going to demand greatness. One thing about Deion Sanders is he's going to demand greatness, and he's not a loser. So if you see things are going off the rails and we start losing games, Deion Sanders is not a loser. He's not going to sit there and just allow people to blow assignments and stay on the field. He's not going to allow people to, if they are supposed to be on the red line, not run on the red line and cause an interception and then stay on the field. He's going to hold people accountable, and he's a winner. At the end of the day, that's what we need is a winner. But if you don't think Deion Sanders is a good option, remember this phone call, because eventually, if I could be wrong, but eventually he's going to take over an NFL team and he's going to lead that team to the playoffs, and then we're all going to be like, oh shit, we could have had Deion. We could have. So I could be wrong, but all that matters is first we got to find a head coach. So Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson. If you think that Deion doesn't want to come here, that's fine. Todd Monken. I don't really know if see, my only problem with Todd Monken is he's been in so many different places. He hasn't had any real consistency. I think he was in Georgia for 2 years, but then prior to that, he was offensive coordinator for 1 year.
You got a promotion. You got to go be the OC for the Ravens.
Yeah. But, if you go from college 1 year and then NFL to another year, I can understand, because you just said, you bring it up with Deion that he's never done it before. My thing is, Todd Monken has never been a head coach before, but Dion at least has been a head coach, right? So some people might say, JJ, you're being a hypocrite now. I'm not against Todd Monken. I'm just saying I'm a little more hesitant with him than I am with Dion, because at least Dion's the head coach at multiple college programs. Todd Monken has never been a head coach.
I think he was a head coach at Southern Missouri or something like that.
Oh, so my apologies, and I'm off then. But it doesn't really matter who we get, as long as we get somebody who's competent first, then we can go and see what our options are at QB. And if we have a competent head coach, a competent offensive coordinator, they can get the best out of our cute quarterback. And I think
what if that coach is like, I think Aaron Rodgers is our best chance to win in year one.
Then I'm all in. If the coach says, hey,
I think that's what's going to happen here, JJ. I'm telling you.
I disagree though, because I think people, if that was the case when Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to hang up on me after this, but when Aaron Rodgers was leaving Green Bay, he would have had all these different teams that were interested in him. To be honest with you, he had no other options but the Jets. Nobody else wanted Aaron Rodgers, and Green Bay couldn't have waited to get rid of him. We were his only option. We were his best option, his only option. So
they wouldn't trade him to the NFC. They wouldn't trade him to the NFC.
What NFC team wanted?
The
Aaron
Niners
Rodgers?
were interested. They weren't going to trade him there. What are you giving me that look? That happened. It's a true statement.
Okay.
Thank you for the time. I mean, come on, man. We don't need to relive the Rodgers saga. It hasn't worked, but let's not pretend like, oh, the Jets were the only team that wanted them. That's actually the Raiders did too, but they couldn't get them. No one had an issue when the Jets brought in Aaron Rodgers. We could say it hasn't worked, which is obviously true. It has not worked. It has not been what we thought it was going to be. But I have zero regrets with the decision to go after him. They had no choice. The reason why they went after him is because they fucked up the Zach Wilson pick. Sorry, but I'm not dealing with nonsense here. It hasn't worked. But I don't want to do how could they go after Rodgers in the first place? Because the other option was Derek Carr, who sucks, and that contract's worse than Rodgers' contract because Rodgers gave you a pay cut. Or Jimmy Garoppolo, who's made of glass. They were screwed no matter what. They were screwed because they missed on the second pick in the draft in historic fashion. The only thing I agree with JJ is they need to hire the right coach, and the right GM and coach will decide what they want to do at quarterback. I think under no circumstance can you have Rodgers and no one behind him that's drafted early in the draft. But go through the free agent list. It's terrible. Terrible. Sam Darnold's the best free agent quarterback. He's not coming back to the Jets. He's also not been great lately, if you guys have paid any attention. He was awful in that win they had over the Jaguars last Sunday. He was not good in that Sunday night game we all watched against Indy, even though the Vikings helped the Jets that night. Big fellow referencing George Kokinis, who is the assistant general manager with the Ravens. You want to poach someone from the Ravens front office for a GM job, or the Lions or the Niners? Yeah, I'm in. I have time for one more call. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now on the Gus Buster hotline is someone who's caused a lot of controversy of late. His takes have never been more insane. Hello to Gary.
SEAL Team 75, assemble.
The clapping seals, they're alive and well in the chat. Yeah. All right, later, Alan.
Alan called you?
Yeah, it's on the phone. We were talking about this and
salad.
Not salad.
Who called who? I want to hear how this came about.
So I texted Alan about his take. I don't think I think the Jets job is better than he's giving it credit for. So I texted him that, and then he called me to talk about it. I was talking about his take on the Jets job.
So you guys were doing your own talk show on a topic that originated from this show. I love it.
Yeah. So we're talking. I think the Jets job is better than Jacksonville job. First of all, I like the city of Jacksonville. Not exactly a landing spot for hot free agents, right? Not too many free agents say, I want to play for the Jaguars. But I think the Jets job is more attractive because you get to pick your quarterback. Whether or not he's going to sit for a year or not, that depends on Rodgers. But you get to pick your quarterback. With the Jacksonville job, I think the book is written on Lawrence. Like, he's not what he was made out to be. I don't even think he's good. I think he's actually below average. So now you have to pay a below average quarterback top dollar. That's not a selling point. That's a bug. That's not a feature. That's a bug. I think Lawrence makes the job worse, not better. He makes the job less attractive with that contract.
It depends how a coach views Trevor Lawrence, right? Like, if you're an offensive coach, you're like, whoa, I think Lawrence is pretty good. Like, wait till I get my hands on him. You might view it differently. It depends. These coaches, like, all these jobs are available for a reason. None of them are perfect.
I agree that the Chicago job, and that was Alan's point. So I guess you're right. It just depends on how you view Lawrence. If you think you can take Lawrence, look, and it's been done with lesser quarterbacks. Geno Smith is a good quarterback. Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. So lesser quarterbacks, lesser prospects have been turned around. Okay, if you think you can turn him into a top 10 quarterback, it's an attractive job, kind of. It's still Jacksonville, right? Like, it's still the Jaguars. The Bears job is great. Like, if you think you can fix Caleb, then that job is a great job. That's a home run. The Dallas job is good on paper, but you're paying Dak $60 million a year. Look how he plays in the playoffs. So you'll get there. But then once you get to the playoffs, now you have to deal with Dak, and you have to deal with Jerry Jones day to day. I may just pass on that and take the Jets job.
You might not want all the attention that comes with having to deal with being the Cowboy head coach.
It's a better job on paper, but in actuality, like, there's challenges that go with that job. I think the Jets have good bones, right? Like we talked about, the weapons they have, right? They have some good pieces on defense. The Jets there's still good bones. That when you pick everything apart, there's a lot of things you want to keep. The Giants have a wide receiver and 2 DNs. Like, that's not a great job, right? There's the thing.
I agree.
It's not terrible.
It's not an awful job, and it's just going to come down to, can the Jets pay up, 1, and 2, how teams view the idea of, hey, like, you want Rodgers for a year? That might be attractive to some people. Like, yeah, I can win with him for a year, and then I can still get my quarterback. Or it's like, hey, we're going to give you full autonomy, do whatever you want, like, whatever direction you see. Like, it all depends, man. There's also 7 games left. What if the Jets do play better down the stretch? All of a sudden, it's like, hey, they were just a coach away from actually being a playoff team.
Is that so? Like, that's an interesting. If they play good, and let's say they go 4-3 from here on out, now you're less likely to get the quarterback you want. If they just win one more game and they just tank and look horrible the rest of the way out, and they win 4 games, what makes the job more attractive? Being able to take the quarterback you want early in the draft, or saying, look, the team won 7-8 games, they're not that bad.
It depends on how a new GM or coach views this quarterback class. Like, how many first round guys are there? And it's like, if the Jets are picking 7, it's like, are you going to get one of them, or are you going to potentially not get? Like, the Giants won too many games at the end of last year. It cost them Jaden Daniels and Drake May. So it's like, depends where you're picking.
I still can't believe we're talking coaches and drafts on November 14th. This season did not turn out the way it was supposed to.
JJ says, Gary and Alan never call me. Come with me to a game. Big 3.
I'm not sitting outside in the cold to watch the Jets. If I was going to go to a Jet game, unless you want to go to a road game, I'm not sitting outside in the cold in the middle of New York in December to watch the Jets.
We'll do it next year.
Yeah, we could do that. Or we could do a road game. All right, let's just do next year. This year, I'm ready. I'm turned off. So where are you taking this young lady on a date? You don't have to say the name of the restaurant. But what kind of, is it a restaurant? Is it a bar? You don't need to say.
It's a mystery, Gary. I will say that I do plan to have some salad again, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would tread lightly.
So you'd recommend I smoke a cigarette than have a salad tonight, correct? That's healthier for me.
I would recommend you do neither. Would be my recommendation.
No, but if I had to pick one, right? Like, this woman is crazy. She's like, you either have a salad or you smoke a cigarette. Which one am I better off doing?
Well, if a woman ever gave me an ultimatum, I'd just be done with the date.
What's the healthier option though? Smoking one cigarette or having one Caesar salad. What's healthier for you, Gary?
A 1-and-1? Just one cigarette.
I'm having either one cigarette or I'm eating one salad. What's the better option?
It's
pick.
It's like Kobe, Mike. You can just toss it up.
No, explain to the audience what's healthier. What's better for my body? The salad or the cigarette?
What's better for your body? Or the cigarette's going to have health benefits, right? At least some. It's going to raise your testosterone level, at least in the immediate future. The salad, you could just replace all of that and have meat and be better off.
So you'd recommend I smoke one cigarette instead of having a
I would
Caesar
not
salad?
recommend. No, you're not going to get me saying I'd recommend you smoke a cigarette. Cigarettes have toxins. Cigarettes are bad. There is good thing in nicotine that are good for you. But tobacco is a plant and it's trying to kill you.
So you're saying having a Caesar salad is worse for my health than having a cigarette? Yes or no?
You can toss it up. You can.
No,
I would.
it's
I would
a
recommend.
yes or no question.
I would recommend doing neither. That's what I would recommend.
Right, but I don't have a choice. She's forcing me to have one or the other. So answer my question.
You're trying to get me to tell you that cigarette smoking is okay, so that then you can use that on Gator, and you're not going to get me to say that cigarette smoking is good for you, which is what you're going to turn it into.
I am asking a yes or no question. Am I better off tonight on this date having a Caesar salad or one cigarette? Yes or no?
But it's like, what would you rather have, a pound of gold or 16 ounces of gold? Well, you're asking me the same thing.
No, I'm not actually. It's a very completely different scenario, completely different question.
No,
I'm just asking, should I have a Caesar salad?
I'm saying it's the
What
same
is healthier
thing.
for me? A Caesar salad with my dinner or smoking a cigarette as I walk to my dinner?
You want me to say smoking a cigarette so that way you can clip it up, right? That's what you want. That's what we're looking for here.
It is very simple, a yes or no question.
Well, it was actually an A or a B question.
Yeah, yes or no?
Yes or no? Is the cigarette healthier for you
than having a salad?
I would say no, it's not healthy, but there are health benefits to it.
Gary, thanks for your time.
Thank you. You're not gonna...
Plants are trying to kill me, so I think I'll eat a stick of butter.
It's going to be some offseason with Gary's takes. JJ says, Jake, make an honest woman of Carly. Power couple. It ain't Carly. Let me see here. Reminder. This show's available. Audio form. Apple, Spotify. Get the podcast there. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. We're approaching 500 Patreons. I want to thank the Patreon audience. You guys are great. Discord was off the charts today after Gary's performance on the Bobby Midnight program. We're back tomorrow. I was texting with Fireman Ed. He's good for 10 a.m. tomorrow. So we're back to our weekly spot. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fun show. Thank you to Ryan Sampson for coming on for the New York Post. If I missed you on the line today, we'll get you tomorrow or next time you call in. Thank you all for your support. My name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Show. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video on your way out. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow with Fireman Ed. Go Jets, baby.
Excuse me.